All right, everybody, welcome to the Manatraders series top 8 event featuring Pioneer this month in the month of April. My name is Corey Ballmeister. That's Ross Merriam. We are going to be bringing you coverage for the rest of this tournament, all the way through the top 8, and it's going to be an exciting one. What are you excited to see, Ross?
I'm just excited to see good Magic.
Yeah.
The end of Magic tournaments from a coverage standpoint is the best. You've got great players all up and down the bracket, and you're going to see some really intense Magic, high pressure Magic,
Yeah.
and hopefully some really cool creative plays.
Yeah.
We already saw some great matches during the Swiss, so if
Really
it goes
did.
up a level from there, it's going to be great.
I mean, that timeout match that we watched yesterday, where it was just, I mean, it didn't actually come down to a timeout, but it was a clock fight at the end between Is It Control and Blue White. It was an incredible one to watch. So feel free to check out yesterday's broadcast if you want to see how these players got here. But now we're shifting gears into the top 8. We're going to be starting with, I think, the sweetest deck in the top 8. We have a lot of different variety here. We have two Blue White controls, two Is It decks, one Is It control deck, two Winotas, one Mardu Greasefang, which how can we not start with that? I mean, that's just going to be awesome. And what was our last deck? I think
I think you covered it.
Yeah, I think I covered it. So that was the 8 decks. We're going to be starting here with Nicholas Prince. Really strong player who just brought a nice little brew to this tournament. So let's take a look at the deck list here of the first top 8 matchup that we're going to be covering.
And Nick Price really holding the banner for the rogue players in this tournament. All throughout the Swiss, it was really the 4 decks that you see in the top 8 represented with multiple copies, along with Monogreen Devotion that faded down the stretch.
Yeah, we didn't see any in the top 8. That was shocking to me.
Its numbers in the winners metagame are right there with the rest of the decks. Just those last couple rounds, came up a little short. That happens. But Mardu Greasefang here,
tell us about it.
Little different than the Greasefang decks that we've seen more often in Pioneer. We used to see a lot of Esper and Abzan, but the Mardu deck coming with this sort of the sacrifice cards, Voldaren Epicure, Bloodtithe Harvester, Stitcher Supplier, Deadly Dispute, that core that goes in the Rakdos sacrifice decks, making an appearance here, but mainly there for as enablers. Harvester and Epicure creating blood tokens that you could then use to discard Parhelions that you draw and also dig towards Greasefang. They can also play a little bit of defense against aggro. They can play a little bit of offense against control. So they give the deck a little bit of a different avenue of attack, different angles of attack. Harvester also being a little bit of removal. And then Supplier, that mill aspect, you can just mill over Parhelions. You can mill over Can't Stay Aways, or you can mill over Greasefang and target it with Can't Stay Away. So all those things, while we often see them in other decks, work well in this shell to try to just bring back Parhelions, create some angels, and get that big combo turn going.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the bigger cards from this deck that has been really surprising me, not only in this shell, but just really in Magic's formats across the board, is Fabled the Mirror Breaker. Such a great card when you just don't have that nut draw to just play Greasefang, bring back the giant boat, and attack for 13 damage. That's how much damage Parhelion 2 does when you're able to attack with it. But just being able to play that, get a creature that's going to give you some mana, and then that next turn, loot away 2 cards where you could put Parhelion 2 into the graveyard. And against decks that have a lot of disruption, like a lot of removal, Lightning Axe, stuff like that, it's so nice for the post-board games to just be able to go Fable the Mirror Breaker on 3, turn 4, set up a turn where maybe you can go Thoughtseize into Greasefang and just kind of put them away. So that's going to be our one deck that we're playing in the top 8. Let's check out the opponent here for the Mardu Greasefang deck. And this is just Is It Phoenix? Pretty stock list outside of there being the 3 young Pyromancers in the board, which we saw just be insane yesterday. But, talk to us about the rest of this deck here.
Yeah, pretty typical Is It Phoenix deck. The one thing you always want to look at with these lists is how do they split their delve cards. You see this one playing more copies of Temporal Trespass, only the 1 Treasure Cruise. Often you see a 2-2 split. I like the 3-1 split towards Trespass. I think those multiple extra turn plays that you can set up with Galvanic Iteration are really important. Though only a single copy of Galvanic Iteration.
I'm shocked at that. Like, that feels like a 2 to me, but honestly, Galvanic Iteration is so bad if it's not paired with Temporal Trespassing. This isn't like the Is It Epiphany decks in Standard where if you just got to copy like Unexpected Windfall or something, it's still good enough. There really is only one good topic or a good target for that, unless you're going like turn 3 Galvanic Iteration double shock or something to control a battlefield.
Yep. So, one copy a little low, but somewhat understandable there. We also see several counter spells in the main. There's a Spell
Mhm.
Pierce, a Negate, and an Is It Charm. Is It Charm can, of course, be a discard outlet for Arclight Phoenix, so you like the versatility there. Negate and Spell Pierce in the main deck is a little risky in a deck that wants to be playing spells on its own turns to set up that Arclight Phoenix trigger, but potentially there as a hedge against control. We saw a lot of
Yeah.
control decks in the field between Izzet and Blue White, and those decks were doing well. So I think that, getting a little bit reactive there makes some sense. And for the matchup that we're playing here for Mardu, I really like these 3 copies of Fiery Impulse.
Oh
Very
yeah.
easy to set up Spell Mastery. Now you've got a 1-mana answer to supplement Lightning Axe that can
Yeah.
take a Greasefang off the battlefield at instant speed. 6 cards, 3 Impulse, and 3 Axe that can do that. It's going to really help in this matchup.
Yep, agreed. And the one thing that I think some of these decisions come down to, this is an open decklist tournament. So when you get those one-ups, it'd be like, oh, my opponent's going to play around that card. I know it. But enough of us jabbering. It sounds like our players are ready. So let's get into the top 8 Magic here at the Manatraders Series featuring Pioneer. Oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. So we have Is It Phoenix on the bottom, and we have that Mardu Greasefang up, and won the die roll. This is just random, to see who goes first. It is not based
Yeah.
on seeding, so just running with that. Getting hand cam set up. I think both
Is
players
It Phoenix
do
player
have
was
this.
the 2 seed, so
So justice.
Yeah.
Yeah, justice is served. Yeah. It's never fun when you go in like dominating the tournament, lose the die roll in a very important matchup like mono green against, Greasefang or something, and then you get eliminated. But yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles. So getting a quick update here, looking at the Greasefang player's hand. We have a decent one. It does not come with the combo in any way. You actually milled over 3 Greasefangs with the Stitcher Supplier, or 2 of them, excuse me. But we got that Fabled Mirror Breaker to do some looting next turn.
So really what we're looking for from the Mardu side is a Can't Stay Away. So with 2 Can't Stay Aways and 2 Greasefangs still in the deck, there's still 4 outs here to get one onto the battlefield, but no Parhelion setup as of yet.
Yeah, that is the tough part of this Greasefang deck. Oh, speak of the devil, that's going to be a good Fable the Mirror Breaker here. And look at this, Ross. If our Is It player would have had the foresight to maybe just chill for a little bit, that one of Negate that is basically dead would have had an all-star target here with Fable the Mirror Breaker.
Yeah, but hard to say no to the turn 3 expressive iteration.
And I don't think there was a land, so it's basically impossible
Yeah.
to say no to that. So see Fable the Mirror Breaker come down, creating that 2/2 Shaman.
I suspect we will see a Thing in the Ice this turn.
Yeah, definitely.
Get that down, start working the counters down. But the one of Lightning Axe in hand for our Mardu player, good way to discard that Parhelion, though the Fable will do that as well.
Yeah, it seems like this is the part of the game where our Is It player is just going to be leaving up one red mana and Fiery Impulse until it kills a Greasefang, So this is going to be a little tricky for Nick to maneuver here.
I think that you might see the sort of creatures here with 2 2/2s coming from this Fable and a couple Stitcher Suppliers between the battlefield and the hand. Those could be important because it looks like it's going to be difficult to assemble the combo. You don't even have one iteration of it set up yet. And once that iteration is going to get stopped by a Fiery Impulse.
Ooh, no land, Ross. Okay, there was no land. Here's the turn.
Yeah, we dug for it and only found an island. So
that was the risk. That was the risk. We're going to discard Parhelion. We're going to discard something else that doesn't matter. If you find one of the 2 Greasefangs or a way to return it, no, nothing. We got a blood. There's still a blood, so there's still one more chance at it. I think you have to go for it. Yeah,
and then they agree. You can discard one of these lands easily.
All right, did Nick find it? Can't stay away! Oh my God! Welcome to Top 8 Magic here. Can't Stay Away is going to have a juicy target, I must say, and there's nothing that can be done.
No,
there's no one of Spell Pierce.
I can understand from the Is It side here that you really want to make that 4th land drop. So, not an obvious mistake here, but definitely a play that they're going to regret in hindsight.
For sure, because there was 2 plays. One, expressive iteration. You could have just played Thing in the Ice, said go, had 1 mana available. 2, you could have played expressive iteration. When you hit opt, don't cast it. Don't risk it, because this is the worst case scenario. You lose the game. This game is over. There's no way Thing in the Ice will have the ability to flip this. So that this is going to be it. And that's going to be game number 1 here, going to Nicholas Price.
Maybe if you found land and temporal trespass here, You could set up a double time walk into another double time walk down the road and do something, but I do not think that has happened. And yeah, pieces of the puzzle is not going to help.
You got to see what kind of pieces you'd be having to solve this puzzle. But yeah, big work here.
The puzzle's already been solved, and it's been solved by the opponents.
Yeah, it was fitting two pieces together, Greasefang and Parhelion 2.
There's the trespass. This came a little bit late here.
Yep. Even just that, to be able to go thing in the ice, trespass, and then untap and return stuff, that's possible. That's possible that you can survive. But as it stands now, it's going to be game number 1 going to Nicholas. Yeah, get it out of there now.
Little late, Fiery Impulse. Little late.
Just wants you to know that.
Oh, actually, we got 2 Phoenixes to return. Okay. So we live for a turn, except the Lightning Axe.
The Lightning Axe will get it done. But yeah, that's impressive to just be able to survive there. I'm kind of shocked.
Also, they're discarding the Parhelion if they just have a land for the flashback on Can't Stay Away. Just reassemble the combo.
That's fair. Okay, so while they're sideboarding, we're going to take a look at this Is It Phoenix sideboard. Ross Marion, what do you like?
Well, first things first is I see a Fry. That's a card that kills Greasefang, so get it in the deck.
I think I know the direction you're going to go with this.
Yeah. If I'm playing this matchup, I want to be more controlling. Just make sure if their combo doesn't happen, you're going to overpower the sacrificey part of the deck.
Yes.
Pretty easily. No graveyard hate here, which is not altogether, surprising from an Is It deck that can't play Grafdigger's Cage.
Yes. Yeah.
So really, we're going to bring in the Fry. And then the other question is, how do I want to shift to be a control deck? How many counter spells do I want? Spell Pierce can counter like Can't Stay Away and Deadly Dispute and Fable of the Mirror Breaker, but is that good enough? It doesn't just counter they can just set it up with creatures.
Yeah.
Tithe Harvester and Greasefang can be enough. Do I just want to bring in Treasure Cruises and get away from Trespass?
I think the only thing I'd be looking at outside of Fry, that's the slam dunk bring in. And then it's just for me, like, which cards are bad, and then bring in cards that are serviceable. And to me, like, the Negate and the Spell Pierce stand out as cards I just absolutely need to take out. And like Play with Fire doesn't really do enough. So like that's another one that's not great. I just want to have Lightning Axes, Fiery Impulses, everything that can kill Greasefang.
I'm also not as high on Thing in the Ice against a deck that has Lightning Axe and Fatal Push.
Yeah.
I wonder if we want to bring in these young Pyromancers and do a little juke with our threats.
I don't think so. I think if you leave Thing, then that's actually still an out to be able to deal with Parhelion just in combat on their turn. You hold up Thing with one counter and a Consider. It's like you are not going to die. Like they have to try to kill it first. But I agree it's not great, but
good. That is good if you can set it up. I'm just wondering how easy it is to set that up.
Do you mess around with Cyclonic Rift at all?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay, let's check out the sideboard of Nicholas's deck. All right.
So we got a couple Grafdigger's Cages to stop Phoenix if we want to.
Yeah,
Go Blink should be great. Portable Hole if we want to deal with the ice.
Okay. Yeah, and one last thing is the Thoughtseizes. I think this is a match where you actually do want Thoughtseize, just because the main thing you want from Thoughtseize is that big turn on like turn 4, and you can Thoughtseize and then hit Lightning Axe or whatever, and then go for Greasefang.
We do see Thoughtseize coming in for Nicholas here, and a great hand it looks like.
Yeah.
Secure Harvester, Fable, so we're going to be able to dig. We don't have the Parhelion.
What's it like to get hands like that, Ross? Yeah, you're very lucky. I know you should probably be used to getting perfect god hands like that. I've seen it firsthand on Versus Live, so...
I'll let you know when it happens.
Okay, yeah, you're still waiting for your first good hand, huh?
On the Is It side, it's just a couple lands, a lot of card manipulation, and one Fry to kill a Greasefang.
Also, one lander.
Oh, that was one land.
Yep, that Canals came into play, but with Consider and Opt, totally fine. But, you get put in a weird spot here where you have to be tapping your mana to develop on the early turn this type of hand. And, Nick's playing a deck where you'll know on turn 2 if you have the luxury to tap out and not, if Greasefang is possible, like if Nick just goes 2-drop, then no matter what, a 2-drop but doesn't put Parhelion 2 into the graveyard, then there's no way Greasefang can bring it back on turn 3. So that's going to be something that our Izzet player is going to be looking for.
And we're leading with Thoughtseize instead of with our Epicure here. Interesting what they want to take. The obvious one is Fry if you just want to set up the combo, but they're going to go for Pieces of the Puzzle, which is taking that is really going to do a good job towards limiting this cruise, but a little bit of an awkward card to take when your opponent is light on lands.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like, Fry seems like the card you couldn't take Opt or Consider because they just cast the other one. So I
Yeah.
agree with that.
So
But
we found land 2 and a Charter Course, so that's going to find 2 more cards.
yeah, Charter Course was actually a great draw because you don't want to iterate on two. So you're just going to go Opt Go, which isn't great. But Charter Course is perfect to just discard a card and
Okay,
hopefully
and then
find land 3.
find land 3 and another
Yeah.
chart, which they do discard. So kept Opt
Okay.
over second chart. That makes sense when you got a Fry in your hand. You just don't want to commit 2 mana at sorcery speed.
Yep, totally agree. Also, want to give a big shout out to Manatraders for this hand reading software. It's so nice when both players have it. Like, oh my
yeah.
god, being able to
Just a
experience
couple
this is
lands
great.
drawn here on the Mardu side. They go Harvester turn 2. That makes complete sense.
Mhm.
And they'll probably play Fable on 3. And then they'll be able to see a lot of cards for turn 4 to try to ditch a Parhelion and cast this Grease Fang. But that Grease Fang is going to run into a Fry.
Yeah, we got 2 pieces of disruption now, which is great. But now what we're really missing from our Phoenix player is just some pressure. Like, you gotta
Yeah.
have some pressure. This is a turn where you can tap out because there's no way that you will be able to get that Parhelion into the graveyard and bring it back. But this is kind of the last turn, more than likely.
But also probably the last time they're going to have to tap out.
Yeah,
This is their
agreed.
last 2 mana sorcery. The rest of their hand is all cheap instants and a Treasure Cruise that's going to cost 1 mana.
That's true. That's true. What a time to be alive when your treasure cruise costs 1. Oh, gotta love it.
1 mana draw 3. It's pretty good. I
Yeah, not
guess.
bad. Not bad.
Okay. Is it Charm to the hand? And a Steam Vents got exiled, so they're going to
Okay.
make their third land drop with the Vents, hold that pathway for turn 4.
Yeah, so mana problems are completely done. Now it's just play clean Magic, figure out how to control the battlefield here, and just make sure you don't die to these little creatures, but also get something going as far as a win con.
But a second Fable means there's going to be a lot of creatures. We're looking at 5 creatures plus this Epicure. All can plink in. They're already at 15, staring at 5 power. How much of this removal can they afford to spend to deal with these small creatures?
All but one. All but one. Is it Charm seems to be like a no-brainer on probably the Shaman to control the mana value, but Is it Charm seems like the first one. Ooh, there's a thing in the garbage. Thing in the ice coming down. That seems like a great turn. Thing in the ice, say go. Get that going. Probably the ideal top deck, Ross.
Yeah, I agree. They
Yeah.
needed a threat. They found one. There's no answer to it in their opponent's hand, which they will soon find out.
Yeah, we'll soon find out a new hand as well. So
Yeah. And
discarding.
they're set up to cruise next turn, so I think this thing in the ice is going to transform pretty quickly.
Yep. Okay, there's a go blank.
Well, Go Blank is great.
It gets countered by Is it Charm right now.
Go Blank resolving would be great.
Yeah.
Like I said.
Honestly, though, yeah, okay, so we played this. I could easily see once we go to combat, our Is it player just being like, okay, let's deal with a creature here. And
Ooh.
then the
Yep.
Go Blank is going to work. Go Blank is going to be absurd right now.
Yeah, you probably have to discard the cruise.
Yeah. You probably do. Yeah. What else are you doing? I think you discard.
Because the only way you could.
I think you have to discard Lightning Axe. You cannot
Yeah.
afford to be 2-for-1 for your
Yeah,
removal spell.
I think it's Cruise Axe, which is a little awkward because you can't pieces and hold up Fry.
Yeah, that one might be a reason to discard Fry Cruise as well.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But you can't keep the Cruise.
Wait a
because
minute. We didn't cast it.
Oh no. We cast Deadly Dispute? Oh no.
Deadly. The value was too high. Oh, wait. So, no, we haven't played a land yet. So, 2 treasures
Okay.
plus this. You get to do it all. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Smart.
Yeah, I think that just seemed like too good of a turn for Go Blank. Whenever you see 5 or more cards, you just always run the foul of just being dead. You know, like this battlefield, you could go Galvanic, Temporal Trespassing, game. So this is going to be a tough decision here for our Is It player.
Gotta be Cruise and gotta be one of the removal spells because you need the pieces to gain some card advantage and get this thing going. Can we see their exile zone?
Well, we're going to see what's not in their hand pretty soon. That's for sure. Yeah, there's a
looks like
Cruise and Fry.
So they kept the axe knowing that they only have 4 mana.
Yep, I think that's smart.
It's awkward, but yeah, I think it ends up being smart. Okay, 2 ops is nice.
But now they're going to, I mean, honestly, now they'll be kicking themselves just a little bit just because you found that land. Now Lightning Axe is 2-for-1ing yourself. Instead, Fry would just be clean answer. And then you have opt. But the one thing you do have now is just in combat double opt flip.
Yeah.
You know?
So you're not worried about Grease Fang because of that. You don't have to use the axe yet.
I guess they're thinking about if they want to go for it now. That seems like a really aggressive play. I think you got to treat this thing as a defensive card.
there's no Parhelion yet in the graveyard.
Yeah, but you can
But there
just
are
sack
multiple
a
blood
blood. Yeah,
tokens.
exactly. It seems far too risky. And also, you don't bounce the Fable the Mirror Breaker, which maybe is good or maybe is bad. I think I go defensive on this, but it is close. What do you think?
I'm inclined to play it defensively, especially when you have the axe in hand. There's just no reason to let them have a trigger. Like you're at 12, you're not under that much pressure. You don't need to get the game over with that quickly. Oh, but they play aggressively.
Yeah.
See if they get burned. They played aggressively last game too, and they got burned.
You know,
So at
last
least they're
game.
consistent.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Play one way. We like that. We're gonna see if you follow through and what we found off the first op. There we go. The horror is awoken. And Arclight Phoenix is one of the cards.
Not a bad one to have with Lightning Axe in hand.
Yep, we're gonna have one more card with ops.
Stitcher Supplier, the card drawn for turn, so still no Parhelion.
And I mean, I think this is the turn where you sack a blood. You start because you got 2 looks at it. Oh, that's so much better. Yeah.
Yes.
Is that a Parhelion? Nope.
Greasefang gets milled, but they don't have
Yeah.
it. So they can find it, can't stay away. They can find. Oh,
No, they can't.
need
They
the
can't
Parhelion.
do it this turn because if you sack a
Yeah.
blood, yeah, I guess if you draw it, you technically could.
But here's the thing now. The fact that you got aggressive with it means that this Mirror Breaker, or this Kiki Jiki, is going to be able to generate free blockers.
Not just free blockers. If you copy the Blood Tithe Harvester, you get a blood, and then that Blood Tithe Harvester just sacks to kill Awoken Horror. You have 4
Yeah.
blood tokens. So right now, Reflection of Kiki Jiki, if it's not dealt with, which I think it just has to be, it can just create removal spells for Awoken Horror. And
Yeah.
already, Awoken Horror or Blood Tithe Harvester can just deal with Awoken Horror with that Valderan Epicure. So at this point, you're almost priced in to Fiery Impulsing the Reflection and the Harvester just to kill or just to keep your Awoken Horror alive. And that feels bad.
Yeah, because now, they've got blockers. They've got Stitcher Supplier and Epicure, and they've got a million cards in hand to try to find the Parhelion to set up the combo. So yeah, not even when they didn't get immediately punished with their opponent not finding the combo, they're still somewhat punished because of this reflection.
So here's the thing that I would have really loved to see that I think would have worked out a lot better for our Izzet player is if you just wait till end step on your opponent's turn and then you flip thing and then you get an attack and it's the same amount of damage except they're behind a whole turn.
Yeah.
And you would have got the reflection out of there because that was coming off its chapter 3, anyways. So
now we see it looks like a Phoenix getting cast the hard way, and that's a way to pressure through some of these ground creatures, which is nice.
Now the question is, do you attack with Awoken Horror and allow Supplier to get in there?
I don't even think you do.
I think you do because you still have Lightning Axe if they do Greasefang, so you still have it covered. But how else are you getting through this battlefield?
I mean, it's going to die next turn anyway.
Yeah,
so it's a question of, do I want them to have a 1/1 or do I want them to mill 3 cards? And I'd rather let them have a 1/1.
It doesn't die. I guess it does die
because of the Epicure that is in their hand.
That's true, but it doesn't have to die on it doesn't for sure have to die with the Awoken Horror because in response to Epicure or in response to Reflection targeting the Harvester, you can then use Axe if you're feeling aggressive. And you can also just, pitch Arclight Phoenix or just pitch the Fiery Impulse and try to get busy with Phoenixes.
Yeah, I just don't think we're trying to do that.
Yeah, it might be too aggressive of a line. I totally agree, but I think that's what you have to do if you already made this aggressive line is you just gotta hope that they don't have it at this point, which is not what you want to do against this kind of a deck that is just a glass cannon,
I think we're at the I'm not killing you with the Woken Horror phase of the game. I already got enough damage in. I've got 2 Phoenixes now. I'm just going to cast Phoenix this turn, hold up removal, cast Phoenix next turn, hold up removal.
Yep.
And Can't Stay Away is a great card against that plan.
Yeah.
Because now they have a bunch of bites at it. They can hard cast Greasefang this turn, you have a removal spell. They can cast Can't Stay Away next turn, you have a removal spell. They can probably flash it back the next turn as long as they find a land.
Yeah, and they have Takanuma, which is a land. Can't stay away, coming, not stay away with me. But we still don't have Parhelion. So here's the response. I think you have to at this point. Because, and especially with playing Valderan Epicure, this is actually kind of a blowout because the Harvester is a sorcery speed ability. So this is kind of a blowout here. I think I would have just sacked that Harvester immediately. This is pretty greedy. But I
Well,
guess,
I'm surprised the Harvester, well, I guess you can't really kill the Harvester in response to the Epicure because they still have 3 mana.
I think Nick was like, okay, if Epicure resolved, there's no way they have a removal spell because I could have just killed it. So they were going for the high
Yeah.
upside. It was either a little bit of leveling on each other, or maybe I don't know, maybe Nick looking into the Is It players plays a little too much, maybe, and got in his head or something. But yeah, that didn't work out great for Nick, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but hasn't found the Parhelion yet. So
Is
hasn't
Can't Stay Away haste? I need to get a refresher on that one.
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either, because it just brings it back
It's,
and
can't-
um
so
okay,
a
it does not
little
give haste.
now we're thinking here without after their harvester dies, they don't have much going on.
Yeah. Yeah, now you're in the abyss, right? You have to just chump block this Awoken Horror, maybe repeatedly. So, like, what do you do? Do you just Can't Stay Away the Epicure so you can deal with the card next turn? But then you're just
Well,
dead to a second removal off the top from our Izzet
yeah,
player.
I think you have to return Blood Tithe Harvester this turn, with your plan being, oh,
Mhm.
they just play Grease Fang. That
Okay.
seems strange. You could
Removal spell wins it here.
there's a consider.
Yeah, you might as well do it now.
Yeah, you don't need to play the second Arclight this turn, which is good. You can just attack with both, have them chump block the horror, get them to 5. Then next turn, the second Arclight is lethal.
Yeah.
Oh, they found
Now,
it.
yeah, that's game. Now you Lightning Axe 2. Phoenix comes back. Take
It's
13.
only 2. Oh yeah, it was 3 spells.
Yeah. Which deck was supposed to attack for 13 again, Ross? All right, that evens it up here. Going to the game 3 where Mardu is going to be on the play. But yeah, I think this is all going to come back. Each player is going to have one of those moments where if they lose this match, they're going to go back to game 1 for the Is It player, being a little aggressive with that, needing to find a red source and failing, or Nick going for that kind of aggressive line of copying
Yeah.
with the reflection of Kiki Jiki.
That said, all you're doing there is giving yourself more time to try to find the Parhelion, which they just never did that game.
I think they would have had more time if they
Yeah.
dealt with that. I mean, honestly, only one more turn, right?
Yeah.
Because those 2 Phoenixes were going to get it done. This was still heavily favored in the Is It player anyways. And maybe Nick was just like, you know what? I can't beat it. I can't beat it if you have a removal spell right now. Just play for the highest upside and, got to respect the play.
So going to game 3, I wonder if we'll see any sort of changes. We didn't really see a ton of the sideboard cards from the Is It side. We saw Thoughtseize from Nick, which we also saw him bring in yesterday in this matchup. So it's something he likes.
I think I like it. It's probably just Go Blank and Thoughtseize, I would imagine.
Yeah. I could see Portable Hole as well, just for thinking the ice.
Yeah. That's fair. That is fair. You could definitely see that as well, but maybe Fatal Push is just already better. So it is just a better card if only you need to deal with is Portable Hole. Yeah.
So probably not much changing here.
Yeah, you want to keep the core of your deck pretty sound, and especially being on the play, you just want to go. You just want to go for it, because if the Is It player stumbles at all, you can really just win the game so fast, like we saw for game number 1.
And I've got to wonder if we will see our Is It player continue to play very aggressively in this third game, or maybe slow down and just try to always leave up the answer.
Yeah.
So far, they have been playing this match on a razor's edge.
Yeah, for sure. And while we wait for the players to get ready again, going to give you a reminder here of how this top 8 is going to go. If you make it to the finals, not only are you going to get your cut at some huge prize money, but you also will get access to that December tournament where it's going to be 48 players, and it's going to have just extra prize support, and it's going to be a great tournament. So big couple rounds here for the first one. There's that young Pyromancer.
We see a little bit of a land heavy hand, 4 lands, but we've got a Fire Impulse. That said, not many ways to get Spell Mastery for that Impulse to kill a Grease Fang.
And Spell Pierce, I would have thought that card's coming out, but you know what? It does hit Fable. So, that is good, but a great hand from Nick as well. We see those Fatal Pushes staying in. Oh, and it looks like that was a mulligan.
So 1 Fatal Push to the bottom on the mulligan. The one issue with this hand,
no red.
No red for that Fable.
Yep.
Mill off the supplier, hits basically nothing relevant.
3 red cards that you sure don't want to draw. Oh, it's that card that you sacked Deadly Dispute, Damping Sphere.
Well,
Nice.
let's hope they find a dispute soon. This might get Spell Pierce though.
It might, but
if I'm playing from the Izzet side, I just want spells in my graveyard, so this impulse is on.
I would snap it off too and Spell Pierce it. But honestly, in hindsight, you just look at Damping Sphere and I'm like, God, this card doesn't do anything against me. You know, like it doesn't seem insane, and you can always Cyclonic Rift it later whenever you want to have a turn where you just go off. And right now, you know, there's a player's hand does not really scream, I want to play 3 spells, bring back Izzet right now, or bring back Phoenixes. Like,
I mean, it is true that I would much rather Spell Pierce the Fable if I've got the choice.
Because now it's a decision. If you don't Spell Pierce, are you just going land go next turn instead of playing Young Pyromancer? I think you have
so,
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the choice. This is going to dictate how the next couple turns go, because you really don't want to just jam Young Pyromancer, not get any value off of it. Let's say if there's a Fatal Push, or if they find land 3 and cast Fable the Mirror Breaker. So both things Nick has, but without lands, Nick is just saying go if he doesn't find a land.
So they end up letting it resolve. And one of the issues with the way they played that is they sat there and paused for a long time.
Yes.
So if you're sitting in Nick's seat now, you pretty much know that there's a Spell Pierce there.
Agreed.
It's face up on the table.
Pretty much.
And there's a Parhelion, but no way to get it in the graveyard.
Yeah.
And no third land. So this is going to be a very weak turn just doing nothing. And now, you kind of feel bad from the Izzet side. You're like, I wish I had just tapped out with the Pyromancer, but you don't know that there's a Fatal Push there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would have still worked out. Doesn't fire off Consider. That's interesting. Just wants to really get value off Young Pyromancer. Expressive Iteration off the top is an excellent card here for a follow-up for next turn. That's like exactly what you want, I feel.
Yeah, don't want to play it here on 3 mana into that Damping Sphere.
Bright Climb? Is that the
that's
one?
Yeah. So still no red mana. Just the Greasefang deck, unfortunately, just not really coming together in either of these last 2 games.
Yeah, do you play the Greasefang here, or
I don't think
why
so.
do you not attack with a supplier?
Yeah, all that seems a little weird.
Yeah, I think I'd just get it in there. Because if it dies, maybe you flip a Parhelion,
So you consider in response to the Greasefang.
Okay.
Finds a Charticourse.
And as it stands right now, you can't deal with this Greasefang.
Well, you can cast Charticourse and then have Impulse up.
That's fair. You have to discard a spell, though, right? Isn't it 3 spells for a Spellmaster?
Two spells.
It's 2? Okay, that's a pretty good one. Now, remember, Damping Sphere is putting attacks onto things, so you can't go Charticourse plus Fiery Impulse in the same turn without paying 4 mana. So, the joys of having instants, you'll say go anyways.
If I'm on the Izzet side, I'm casting this Charticourse. I'm discarding whatever, probably Cyclonic Rift or something.
I mean, Expressive Iteration is probably just the same or better, right?
Yeah, I just don't want to be forced to cast a spell if I don't hit a land off of it.
That's fair.
Because I want to pass, take 5 if I need to take 5. I'm at 18. I can do that. Make sure I hold up Spell Pierce for a potential Fable. If they draw a red source, and then end step, kill the Greasefang.
Yeah.
Or if they somehow put Parhelion in the graveyard, before combat, kill the Greasefang.
Good call. Yeah, I agree. Bringing Parhelion back is probably not ideal, but once again, just Damping Sphere just looking not good. Like I think it's strangely good against Phoenix for game 1, and then it gets a little bit worse post board. But of course, you cannot main deck a Damping Sphere. But yeah, not a card I'm in love with right now, unless it's up against the Tron of the format, the Lotus Field.
Yeah, that's a Lotus Field hate card.
Or Sylvan Awakening. That just stops the combo as
Jessica
well.
Ascendancy, sure. They do cast the Charticourse here. Just thinking about what to discard. Personally, I would pitch the Cyclonic Rift that I don't think does a whole lot. But you've got the combo pretty well covered here with these Fiery Impulses. Looks like they discarded... Is that Expressive Iteration? Okay, so they drew a second copy.
That would have been a misclick, right? I don't think I've ever discarded that card in my entire life.
They found a Spirebluff Canal, so they can play that tapped and hold up either 1 mana spell here.
Oh, Deadly Dispute was a good draw, but it's gonna get Spell Pierced.
No, so you gotta wait. You gotta wait to see this trigger resolve.
Oh yeah,
and see what they mill.
Good point.
No Parhelion off the mill. That is a can't stay away. So that is pretty good. Now I think you can safely Spell Pierce.
It's close because, let's see if that Fatal Push was a different 1 black spell, like a Thoughtseizes yourself.
No, because of Damping Sphere.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course,
So
yeah.
you're not afraid of a 1-mana spell because of your opponent's
Well,
Damping Sphere.
you're not safe from if those last 3 cards were land, Thoughtseize,
Parhelion, yeah.
Parhelion,
But I'm
yeah.
willing to play around. I'm willing to let that go.
Yeah,
Especially with how
agreed.
aggressively they Thoughtseized in game 1. They would have
Yes.
Thoughtseized the turn before probably if they had
Totally
it.
agree, yep. So yeah, we're gonna see this. I imagine we're just
Yeah.
gonna see a say go. Now, next turn, you have the option to go Fiery Impulse on Greasefang at whatever time you want. As well as this is
I'm impulsing in response because you still have an impulse up after this. I want to get a token out of it.
It does cost 2, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yep, that's perfectly fine.
Because it was going to cost 2 next turn to opt or anything too. So get a little bit of value. How about another 8 drop off the top, Ross?
Yeah.
You like that?
Not going so well for the Mardu side because
Yeah.
it looks in control. I love how they've played this game a little bit, just a little bit tighter, a little safer.
Yeah.
Never...
You can tell that our Is It player is definitely can sense it, can feel this as a win right here. And there is a good amount of money on the line here as well.
They are in don't mess it up mode.
Exactly. Exactly.
So an expressive iteration here over pieces of the puzzle. I kind of like that because what I really want to find here is threats. An iteration can find threats where pieces can't.
Yeah, expressive iteration comes down. That's a treasure cruise.
And you can actually over delve to pay for the Damping Sphere here.
Oh, that's spicy.
You can delve 8 and still just pay 1.
Oh man, Damping Sphere getting around that pretty nicely. That's a sweet one.
Oh, we found threats.
That's far too many things. I'll tell you that.
We found our threats.
We got things in the ice here. Blood Crib off the top.
Here's the red source.
Okay, that's a big deal because Favor of the Mirror Breaker discarding 2 Parhelions is nice.
And there's a Greasefang and Can't Stay Away in the graveyard.
Oh, there is. Okay,
so land sets up the combo. Now your opponent does have a Fiery Impulse to stop it once,
or a Cyclonic Rift to stop it twice.
Rift just stops it for a turn, though.
Yeah.
Fiery Impulse makes you find another Can't Stay Away or Greasefang.
But when you pair Thing with that, the Thing stops it a 3rd time, and then your opponent draws cards every turn, which is crazy good for them right now.
I'm not saying they're in a good spot, but I'm saying that they could get something going now.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah, I'm saying there's a chance.
And remember, top 8 players here. If you are a Manatraders member, which why wouldn't you? You get bonus perks as well as you just get additional money in the top 8. Top 8 players all have $500 for 7th and 8th, and then 5th through 6th goes up to 600. And then if you make it to that top 4, it's $1,000. So this is a $500 match of Magic.
Corey, I wanted a second thing to get cast here. You still have Fiery Impulse up. Your opponent's at 17 and 2 things, an Arclight Phoenix in 1 turn. That's gonna be lethal.
Yeah, I think that's a little aggressive, just in case you do run into the foul of Thoughtseize plus that. At least you have Cyclonic Rift to help out a little bit.
You could take 13 and then have 2 things and kill them still.
That's true. That's true. I do enjoy killing my opponent.
Well,
Not a great drop.
If I was at 13 or lower, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
But I'm at 14. That's more than
true.
13.
I don't care. The 3. All right, we're doing a lot of math again here today.
Yeah. So, Nick goes for the Can't Stay Away and Greasefang. Really the only thing they can do. Fable only finds them a couple more lands, so...
And importantly, when Can't Stay Away is out, it does exile Greasefang. I do think we had 1 more Greasefang in the yard, but maybe not. So that might have been it.
No, there was never a Greasefang in the yard. There was just the one they cast from hand.
Yep. So 2 Parhelions, but only 1 Greasefang. So now you got to draw Greasefang and hope that your opponent is on, bricks in the hand.
Okay, so they're playing very slow here. Just playing another thing. Even though they had 2 ops, they could have gone... I guess they couldn't really have done that.
They could have went opt for 3 mana and flipped.
But with the shock, now Nick's at 14, so you're just setting up to kill next turn. Holding up the Rift for this turn makes complete sense.
Yep. There's Parhelion off the top. Is that castable? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 more turn. Oh, no, it was castable, right?
Oh, yeah. Wonder.
Huh.
But
I mean, Thing would have flipped. And I think we're just done here.
They're not getting another turn.
Yeah.
You could even Rift the Damping Sphere and end step and tap and bring back the Phoenix too.
Impressive stuff. Here from our Phoenix player. Mardu Greasefang was a really sweet deck, but looking like it's going to be eliminated here in the first round. Yeah. We just need to play 2 spells, and they're in hand. Pieces of the puzzle plus Cyclonic Rift.
Castable through the damping sphere, and that should do it.
Yeah, and that's it. Woo! Congratulations to our Izzet player taking it down. Really nice stuff. What do you want to unpack for that match?
We can say 3-game match was pretty close, but if I'm sitting from the Izzet side, the way I'm thinking about the match is I should have won all 3 of those games.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
They got a little too aggressive in game 1, gave their opponent a window that they didn't really need to give them.
Yeah.
And this Mardu deck, when they're not assembling the combo, you've seen them sometimes look like they might be able to get something going, but they never really have. Like we haven't seen the Mardu deck, and we've watched it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Win a game fairly. So
yeah, we just haven't. We kind of thought that it had a fair plan to it, but the more we were looking, it's just like that is just not how Pioneer is playing out right now. You're not usually the only fair thing that we did see win was that Croxa game, and that's the most unfair card as far as fair Magic goes. So yeah, if you don't have Croxa, I just felt like the fair plan is not there with Epicures and Blood Tithe Harvesters.
Yeah, you're not winning a game with those cards. So I think the Izzet player learned that over the course of the match and got more and more conservative. And once they were holding back and just finding their removal, casting it at the right times, finding threats, and turning the corner, they cleaned it up pretty easily. Albeit with some mediocre draws from the Mardu player. Mulligan and no red mana there in that game 3.
You kind of had to keep it, and then the Deadly Dispute was pretty brutal as well. So yeah. So it sounds like as an update from our top 8, Thiago Saporito, who I would probably consider to be the tournament favorite at this point, as far as experience go. Thiago has been a phenomenal pro Magic player for a long time, a lot of results to his name. Takes down the top 8 here against a Winota player.
Wow, quick match for an Azorius control deck.
Exactly. Yeah, when you gain control, you really do it. But it does sound like we got one more match to jump into. We got blue-white control up against Izzet Phoenix, all queued up for some more top 8 Magic. Let's dive in.
So this is going to be our 3-6 match. So the winner of this is going to play against the Izzet Phoenix player we just saw win. That's one half of the bracket. And then Saporito with his Azorius control deck is on the other half of the bracket, playing against the winner of Izzet Control and Winota. Not sure what's going on in that match, but I'm sure we'll find out.
Yep, it looks like Chris won. Is that the Winota player?
So yes, so we're gonna have Winota. So Saporito's gonna have to go through Winota twice.
Yeah,
if he wants to get to this finals.
But Thiago 2-0'd this Winota deck, and I'm imagining made it look pretty easy. So Thiago Saporito is gonna have a win and in for that huge December tournament next round up against Winota. We're gonna bring you that action. That's the one I really want to check out. And also, as we're dissecting what's going on in this game, next round, we will be letting you know what the May tournament is for the Manatraders series event. And it's a spicy one, Ross. It is spicy. Picante. Absolutely. So getting into this game, we do see mental misstep here. Playing Izzet with a Resolve Jace, a bunch of cards in hand, Stern Dismissal to do some bouncing to protect the Planeswalker, and just a load of card advantage. But you see that Rest in Peace on the other side. So any kind of ridiculous Phoenix draw or Temporal Mastery kind of stuff is off the table. And on the other side, we see Yorion that resolve. This is, of course, the 80 card version of blue-white control, which is what Thiago and this player are decided to bring to the table. No real traditional blue-white control, and a hand of Wandering Emperor, a couple removal spells, not so good Dwari Disruption, but then a Castle Ardenvale to go the distance as well. From the blue-white player, you're just really trying to get that Jace off the battlefield, and then you feel really good about this game.
Completely agree, and they have several tools to do it right now. The Yorion's already on the battlefield. They've got Hall that they could take a turn off and just activate and slam in for 7. And they just one land short of activating that, which they have in hand for next turn. Then once that Jace is off the battlefield, the Izzet player's not doing a whole lot. They're a little shy on lands here, behind 2 land drops already. And their hand is pretty expensive with these expressive iterations, galvanic iterations, pieces of the puzzles. So they're gonna have a hard time deploying their cards that quickly, and that's gonna be a problem against blue-white control, because the more time you give them, the more time they have to just set up something to where even if you're drawing cards, they don't care. They just have so much going on. They're gonna stop every threat that you have and probably just deck you.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too, that we also got to keep an eye on. That Hall of the Storm Giants, Ward 3 and 3 mana available. That should be something as the blue-white control player, looks, alarm goes off in their head, be like, this is untouchable right now. It can deal 7. So right now, that's an option of just firing that up and attacking. I'm not saying it's a great option right now, but something to always keep in mind where Yorion doesn't kill Jace, but Honestly, the more and more I'm looking at it, this actually seems kind of nice. You can just fire up Hall, send it at Jace, Yorion to face, and like what are you afraid of on the other side when you have March, Wandering Emperor? Like the only thing you're afraid of is a big spell, and yeah, there it is. Called shot right there.
It was quite the poem, Gordon.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I've been working on my poetry.
Okay, Yorion staying back. So
Yeah.
a very defensive posture. Don't want to let your opponent set up an Arclight Phoenix turn, but you do have the Rest in Peace. That said, we also see Stern
What did
Dismissal.
that hit? Oh, that did hit Rest in
Yeah.
Peace. Okay.
So they're going to try to set up a turn where they pieces into maybe a Treasure Cruise.
Yeah, this is a huge turn here. We've got to have an explosive turn from Mental Misstep here to be able to kind of pull
They
ahead.
draw another Galvanic iteration. They just don't have enough mana to leverage their
Yeah.
spells. I think that Stern Dismissal might have been a little premature. There's just not a lot going on here. They're not even going to cast to pieces.
Yeah, it was more of a lax dismissal instead of a stern dismissal here. You needed to wait for it to be stern. Spell Pierce coming off.
Well,
that's great on turn 8.
Okay, so they do have this negate. So I suppose their plan is to
Negate
it on the way back down. But
what about Delvin's Veto? What does that have to say about it? Or what about second Rest in Peace?
Yeah.
Negate that. Negate it. Yeah.
Now you just let that resolve.
Nathan's like, that resolves. Here's part 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
What do you got for 1 mana there, Mental Misstep? Probably nothing much. And this is the last match going in the top 8. We did see Gracias Portanto take it down. We got Chris Cav taking it down as the Winota player, and then Bolivo, Thiago Saporito taking it down here.
Oh, now they find a Temporal Trespass after the Rest in Peace comes back down.
When do you Galvanic Iteration here? You got to get that card out of there and start copying something. I would copy that pieces right here for sure.
Yeah, I would have been inclined to do that as well.
The Spell Pierce is going to be real good.
Yep. I am Spell Piercing that one immediately.
Yeah. Maybe a bit of an aggressive Wandering Emperor there, to be honest. But I actually... Oh, wait, never mind. The game's over. You just haul and Yorion with Dovin's Veto backup.
Well, that's 11, right? It's a 7/7.
Oh, yeah. Math.
You're still like not worried.
Yeah, let me work on my graphs again and make sure that it is indeed not lethal. Yep, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, but from the Blue-White side, you're under no pressure here. Yeah. You're killing them, and there's just not a lot you're afraid of.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, Nathan sees the writing on the wall and just packs it in. They saw their hand is just filled with really expensive cards because of those Rest in Pieces. They weren't really able to deploy them. I think they got a little bit too in love with that negate. Yeah, and they kept trying to hold it up, which you often want to do with counter spells. But when your hand is that expensive, you can't afford to take turns off and waste your mana. You really just have to cast it, knowing that you're going to get value out of that negate eventually. You're playing against a control deck. They're gonna have a target on turn 12. Don't worry.
Agreed.
And maybe they're going to resolve a spell, get ahead maybe with a Wandering Emperor or something like that. But, they're going to get ahead if you don't do anything anyway. So you really just have to deploy your spells when you draw them. They just fell a little bit too far behind. Let the Azorius deck really take the initiative and become the beatdown. Yep,
totally agree. Impressive stuff. And now it looks like we got our top 4, filled out. And now this next match is going to be for that invite plus a lot of cash. 3,000 for first, second, 2,000 for second. So, and they're guaranteed 1,000 in the top 4. So playing $1,000 match of Magic here on a nice Sunday, you can't complain about that.
Yeah, every match from here on out playing for $1,000. Yep. Right now, we're playing for slots in that end of the year event.
$1,000 plus, it's definitely more. This is probably the matchup that matters the most in the top 4 because, believe it or not, I think we're going to be giving away money at that December tournament.
Weird.
Yeah, I know, crazy.
Just breaking the mold there.
Exactly. So if you want to be a part of that May tournament, we're going to be announcing that format at the start of next round before we get into it. And it's a spicy one. We'll let you know soon. But if you want to be competing in it, you just have to play in the qualifier season, have a winning percentage of 70% or higher to be able to get in to this final event, and then play this event, make it to the top 8, make it to the finals, and then boom, you're in that December tournament. Sounds easy, right?
I mean, it looks easy.
Yeah.
I've been watching people, and somebody has to win every match. It could be you.
It could be you. It could be you. And if you want to save yourself some money and get a loan program subscription, use !Bash Bros in the chat. That'll save you 20% off your first 2 months subscription. And, just really makes it quite cheap to get some decks, depending on the format. And we'll let you know that it is a format that is not the most expensive.
It's affordable.
affordable. It's affordable. So we are going to take ourselves a very short break while we get the top 4 lined up. We're going to be bringing you Thiago Saporito up against our Winota player,
Chris Kavanagh.
Chris Cav. Yep. So gonna be a nice match. So don't go anywhere. We're gonna take a short break and we'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back to coverage here of the Pioneer Manatraders series. I'm Corey. That's Ross. We're going to be bringing you all the action here, and blink and you miss it because these Sunday top 8s, they go fast when you have, Magic Online, which you can really get games done really quick. And if you don't play a control mirror.
Which, fortunately, we are guaranteed not to have any.
Absolutely.
So 2 of our control players bowing out in the top 8. Thiago Saporito, Bolivo, the last one remaining here.
Yep.
And, so far really dominating the Swiss of this tournament.
Yeah.
Was 8-0. Made the very wise sacrifice to the tournament gods of not winning round 9. Otherwise, you are guaranteed to lose in the quarterfinals.
Automatically.
And it's working out for him.
If you go EXO, you ask for a split in that top 8 for sure.
Yeah,
because you're
every time.
dead money at that point if you EXO. It's the curse. Everyone knows it. Yeah.
So the only match he has lost on the weekend is one that essentially did not impact him at all. He was still first in the Swiss, so it didn't even impact his standing.
Yeah, and because it's not play dependent on top down. So just getting into the top 8, everything restarts, new tournament, doesn't really matter. But speaking of a new tournament, I bet y'all want to know what the new tournament is for the May Manatraders series, right? Well, I hope you packed your commons because we're going to be playing ourselves some Pauper next month. And this is a format that is always going through a lot of dramatic changes. It seems like I believe some cards just got banned. I'm going to be real with you. I don't know a lot about Pauper, so I'm going to be doing some research to see what kind of decks are popping up. But a really, really cool format. So if you are a Pauper fan, sign up for Manatraders right now. Sign up for Manatraders right now. Rent a nice Pauper deck so you can get yourself trained up with Streets of New Capenna cards. Got to be some good commons in there. And, get all practiced up. And you could be right here on this broadcast next month being covered by, one of us or Brad or Todd, someone.
2 people will be here probably.
2 people, yeah. Maybe we'll bring Henry too. We'll have a whole party.
No,
but
I said people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's my human. He's my child. So yeah. So what do you think of that format? Are you a Pauper fan?
I am a Pauper fan. I used to actually play it quite a bit in the Moto dailies back in the day.
Oh yeah, those 32 person events and stuff.
I was a mono green Stompy player.
Okay.
Yeah, anything with Quirion Ranger.
I played a decent amount of a Dimir deck that I always just thought was so fun. It was like, that Oracle card, 3 mana, 1/3, where you pick
Seagate Oracle.
Seagate Oracle. It played like Delver, like just a bunch of removal, just a blue-black kind of Delver style deck. And I had a blast with it. Maybe I played Spellstutter Sprite and stuff, like really cool cards. So it sounds like they're in the game. Let's take one quick look at the bracket here to show you the players that are left. And nice bracket. There we go.
Yeah,
now this is the players we got left. We got Thiago Saporito up against Chris Kavanagh, right?
Yeah.
Okay, up against our other players on the bottom. And what are the decks that they're playing real quick? Give our folks a refresher.
Bolivo is playing Azorius Control against Chris Kavanagh's Winota. That's the match we're going to be bringing to you first on camera. And our bottom match there is an Is It Phoenix Mirror.
Ooh.
So Is It Phoenix, as sort of been one of the best decks for many months now. And it feels like every so often there's some techie decks that show up and look like they might be taking the spot. But Is It Phoenix is always there to remind you, like, I'm really good.
It's like the card never dies, because it doesn't. It keeps coming back. So it sounds like our players have started. We're going to jump into Thiago Saporito versus Chris Kavanagh. Let's jump in. All right, and checking this out here, hopefully we got hand cams for both players. I think in the top 8, they've been pretty good so far, which, we really want to thank the players for, being cooperative on this because it does make our job a lot easier. Okay, unfortunately, we might not have Thiago's. Dang it. We'll pester Thiago if he does win this match.
So game 1 here. So unfortunately, some Brutal Cathars in the deck that you don't really want to draw against control.
Yeah, not great.
Fable is a great card to have down, but this was not a very explosive draw. This is the matchup where you don't need to be, necessarily as explosive because the control deck is going to come with a bunch of answers.
Yeah.
And if you keep a hand that's just a lot of mana acceleration, you're going to flood out usually.
Mhm.
But Fable is probably the best card in the entire matchup.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just a straight 2-for-1, generating multiple bodies, put some pressure on your opponent, get a lot of mana set up so you can potentially, double Winota in a given turn if you need to through counter spells.
Yep.
And really put pressure on them in another way, force them to use their removal spells and interactive spells on creatures that just don't matter that much.
Yep. And I do want to give you all a reminder that Thiago Saporito did just take down Winota 2-0. So, you're already warmed up for this. And the matchup, I think it is very close. I have played a lot of blue-white control with Yorion, and it's definitely a match you can lose. It is not one of those lopsided matches because Winota is such a dynamic deck. If Winota was all about cards that just played to the battlefield, there wasn't Azika's Chariot or Fable the Mirror Breaker that are creatures that kind of hang back through Wrath, I would think this is kind of a lopsided matchup because Supreme Verdict would just take over. But with the fact that Azika's Chariot gets to hang back, you got Fable the Mirror Breaker that if you Wrath and it goes to chapter 3, you have another card.
Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah, Voice of Resurgence is an annoying card. You got a lot of portable holes now. That is a great answer to Voice.
March also exiles Voice.
Yeah, Voice isn't what it used to be, is it, Ross?
If they have the answer, then Voice isn't great. But if it goes unanswered, it is game breaking.
There was a time when Voice of Resurgence tokens were the second most expensive card in that set next to Voice of Resurgence. How funny is that?
That is very true.
Yeah, it just really shows how great that set was overall.
Yeah, Dragon's Maze was not great.
I think you may have told me that that stat, to be honest.
Indeed.
Yeah. I'll just say that I knew it on my own, make myself sound a little bit smarter.
So we see Reflection of Kiki-Jiki entering the battlefield, the last chapter of Fable. Not a lot going on from our Winota player. A lot of mana. A 6-land draw. And as you said yesterday, you never want to make the 7th.
Yeah. Nope. 100%.
So they're just jamming their threats. I think that's really all you can do here. They absorbed that second Fable.
Combat? Oh my god. Okay, so
it's only one trigger.
This screams to me that there has got to be a Supreme Verdict. Every time that we don't see Thiago Saporito's hand, though, we're always just like, okay, he must just have a plan for this. And then the more and more we go, we're just like, okay, maybe Thiago's hand is just bad. Yeah. So I'm not gonna jump to conclusions here, but
I will tell you that I kind of expected a March of Purifying Light there for 3 mana plus a card to exile that Winota.
Yeah, exactly. So, worst case, we do have just sack Omen, try to find Verdict. So no matter what, Thiago is going to be using his mana. And are we just jamming here?
I mean, it's not like the Brutal Cathar is doing a whole lot after a Verdict.
Yeah. But the thing is, a Verdict seems like it would be very possible. But yeah, like you said, if you just follow up Verdict with a Brutal Cathar, Thiago Saporito puts his thumb up and it was like, resolves, This
is the kind of spot where I miss Brutal Cathar and things being able to target your own creatures, because I wouldn't mind Brutal Catharing my own Winota there and just saying, you know what, I have 3 creatures here, and if you Verdict me, I have a Winota.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Here it comes. We're tapping some mana. Yeah, probably tapping that castle.
When you're moving that fast, it's good.
Yeah, or you have one play, otherwise you're dead. Big draw here.
Yeah, if that was a
honestly, that's pretty telling. That's pretty telling of how hard it is to come back once you've lost all your resources as the aggressive player. In the top 4 in such a big moment, I still would not concede there. But, I think my brother, Brad Nelson, has been always pretty notorious for scoop him up if he's done early. I think there's a lot of players that live by that kind of philosophy.
It's almost time for Sunday dinner,
Exactly. Yeah. You got basketball games on. You got to check it out.
I want to get a taste of that red sauce that's simmering on the stovetop.
Exactly. Okay. So Ross, give me a taste of this sauce that Thiago Saporito has. What are you bringing in against Winota?
Generally, when you're playing a blue control deck against an aggro deck, your blue cards are coming out for your X colored cards because your blue cards are usually counters and your X colored cards are usually removal. And looking at the sideboard, I see a Settle the Wreckage. That seems great. Not a lot of other removal here. There's some Aether Gusts. Those are usually pretty good against Winota because it can hit Chariot as well as a lot of the creatures. So 3 Gusts and Settle are the real slam dunks. Your Dovin's Vetoes against a nearly all creature deck, though they can counter Fable and Chariot.
Those are big cards.
They are two of the more important cards in the matchup, but it's still a very narrow card. I don't really want to get caught with it stuck in my hand. And then Narset tends to be very weak against aggressive decks. So those are the 6 cards I'm really looking to get out of my deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if there are 2 other cards you want to bring in, like Dream Trawler. Yeah, that one seems good.
I think we've just been seeing Thiago bringing that in all the time because that card's too sweet. But let's take a look at our Winota player at Chris's list, if we have that queued up. Okay, it sounds like we got the match, so maybe we'll just jump into that. All right.
And a pretty reasonable hand here. Elite Spellbinder coming in out of the sideboard, so as more disruption. And that curve of Voice into Spellbinder into Chariot is really strong against control.
Oh yeah, sweet Chariot.
Because you're probably gonna force your opponent to tap out to deal with the Voice, so they're not gonna be able to counter the Spellbinder. And even if they do want to counter the Spellbinder, the Voice is gonna give you a token for it.
I think low key Azeka's Chariot is the best card in this matchup, like kind of by a lot.
Ooh.
Ranger class is also huge.
But what I want to do, I want to Voice first to stop any sort of counterspell shenanigans, and I want to save Ranger class for after Chariot, because if they play a sweeper, you can then Ranger class anything else, crew the Chariot, and start making more tokens immediately.
The one thing I want to do though is just make sure Ranger class hits the battlefield where it cannot be countered, and right now that is an avenue to do so. I'm not saying it's correct, but I really do want to get that on the battlefield. I agree playing Voice right now, because even if you get a portable hole or whatever here next turn, I think I jam Ranger class over Elite Spellbinder because it's that important at just these long game top decks effects,
Well, we see a main phase Ether Gust on the Voice.
Interesting. Where are you putting that?
I think I'm putting it on the bottom, actually. We've got a lot to do with our mana. They put it on top.
Hey, you don't know that. It could have been a top deck.
And it looks like they may be following your
or
is
this
this
Prosperous Innkeeper into Voice? I don't know if I love that.
I like Spellbinder. I want to see what's going on. It's so much easier playing against control when you know what's in there.
Okay.
And we see there's a Jwari Disruption that can be a land, but there's not much going on.
Yeah, let's open that revealed window there. Hopefully we can see those cards. Oh yeah, it doesn't show. Okay. So we'll just have our director remember that and let us know every card that exits as we
saw
go.
Supreme Verdict, Teferi, Shark Typhoon, Memory Deluge, Jwari Disruption.
Yeah, I think that was the 5. So we have 5 cards and a mystery one. So right now, no land with no play.
We found land for Azeka's Chariot, but it's an untapped one.
I don't think I'd play it anyways into the face of a Jwari Disruption.
Well, the Jwari Disruption just got played as a land because that was their only land option.
Oh, true. Yeah, I was gonna say if they didn't know the hand, but of course they just saw the information. So yeah, I think I play this and probably play a 2-drop at this point since you're gonna play land 4.
Yeah, I think we're just playing Voice again. And then playing Lair, and we've got a pretty good battlefield here. We're not even that worried about a Verdict. If they rip land and cast Verdict on this board, you get in for 3. You make a Voice token. You play Chariot, and now your Voice token can attack for 4. You just crew the Chariot while they're tapped down. And yeah, Thiago actually cycling Shark Typhoon for 0, but just because they want to hit a land.
That's a shark that is not been born yet, actually. 0/0 shark. Yep, that's below a baby shark. Yeah.
That's a zygote shark.
Zygote shark has been declared. Didn't think we'd be saying that on the broadcast today. But
they might not have found a land, but Portable Hole is a clean. Oh, they
tap
did
land.
A land, but it tapped. Yep,
that's a big deal.
Portable Hole will answer the Voice.
So right now, if you are Chris, you got to make sure that if your opponent plays Teferi, which we know is in the hand, you got to have enough to pressure it or enough to just pressure your opponent and not care.
I'm playing this Foundry untapped to play around another
and playing Chariot. Yep, 100%.
Don't care about the life. You're going to gain it back with the Innkeeper anyway.
Yeah. And your life total does not matter when you are the Winota deck against a blue-eye control deck. I'll take 2 for fun. If I don't have a play, why not?
You know, how many cards are in Thiago's hand right now?
It looks like 5.
5, and we know double Teferi, Supreme Verdict, and
Memory Deluge.
I
think that's the only 4 because the shark got cycled. Yep.
So a little awkward to play the Chariot into I
didn't see Verdict for sure. Did you see Verdict for sure?
I saw Verdict.
This is like the hand cam at home. Be like, hey, you don't need a hand cam. We already saw this.
Honestly, I'm not even that worried about the Verdict. I think because if you draw any untapped land, you can play Ranger class and animate Lair as a 2/2. And if you draw most of your creatures, you're going to be able to do it.
I actually don't mind this. I
Yeah.
actually don't mind this. And leveling, it's not the worst.
I don't mind it either. It
Yeah.
is still good because you get to level 2, so you set up to get to level 3.
Yeah, you level and hit Prosperous Innkeeper, I imagine.
Yeah.
Make sure to diversify a little bit.
This honestly is probably better.
Yeah.
Now you just have Chariot as your verdict follow-up.
Yep. Because, I mean, if you have Chariot and your follow-up is Ranger class and you only have that 1/2/2,
Yeah.
then, you can't crew Chariot, and that can actually lead to some
If you draw any
awkwardness.
Llanowar Elf,
Yeah.
any Innkeeper, then you feel really bad.
Yep. And we're going to see a pretty
Yeah,
much forced verdict here.
Do we see
With-
land 5 at all?
Land
do.
5
Yeah.
has hit.
Finds land 5, so we got a Teferi for next turn, but that is not great.
Yeah.
Slam this.
But it definitely sets up for a play where, like, let's say you find Aether Gust and you go Teferi tick up. All of a sudden, Thiago is in a great spot, And now we'd play the land right now. Normally, you want to hold the lands in case you have Fable the Mirror Breaker, but not with Ranger class about to go to Chapter 3, as well as Lair being able to threaten a ton of damage.
Okay, no
Doesn't play
Teferi,
it.
so we got to have something.
Memory Deluge to just find an answer, I imagine. Or, of course, we can have, a big shark or something. But if I am Chris, I'm still just jamming. Like I might jam with everything. I might get Lair in there.
You jamming with the Chariot?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think so. You jam, copy.
I think I'm leaving the Lair back just because I don't want to lose everything. And you have the Ranger class to level to use your mana on.
And Thiago does have that one of settle the wreckage in the sideboard.
Okay, looks like we are jamming with the Lair, though.
All right, here we go.
But not with the Chariot.
Interesting.
Yeah, because you don't have, if they settle you here, you don't have anything to crew the Chariot.
Yeah.
Putting the counter on the Lair.
And the Lair, that play gets a little punished here. Your big Lair is, going down. You don't have Chapter 3 of Ranger class going. Yeah, this is definitely turning around for Thiago Saporito fans. And remember,
so we could use a Teferi to tuck a token and just hope they miss for a turn, maybe?
Yeah. I don't hate it.
Well,
or you tick it up. Because you can also make a knight with the Wandering Emperor to do a little. Now it's just rough. Like, what do you do? How much do you send at Teferi? And now look at the sequencing from Thiago. Now you get to untap Memory Deluge at the worst, or whatever you just drew. That's a Winota off the top, though.
Do we have an answer? We haven't seen one from Thiago's hand. We know a few of the cards in it.
And that's going to crew the Chariot. This is 3 triggers if this all happens. It resolves.
Yeah, you're definitely going for it here.
Dun, dun. Dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun.
I think I might just be sending this face.
Oh, yeah. I
think Thiago at 10.
Yeah, because there's no clean. If you had like 1/5/5, I would maybe send that at Teferi. But I'm going for lethal. Your opponent's about to cast Memory Deluge, untap with Teferi. You just might be in a situation where, like, I need to kill Thiago now or I'm dead. Oh, the Memory Deluge just says, if you have it, you have it. That was a mistake, though. A small mistake from Thiago because, if there was any consideration to aim some of these new attackers at Teferi, that's out the window now. They're going face now.
Yeah, I would I'd rather see what cards they hit before I make my decision on what cards to take with Deluge.
I think it is a case of the game is over anyways, but is that enough? Yeah, okay. Impressive work.
Yeah, so TY Nota top deck there. I think Chris got a little bit sloppy in that game. I think exposing the Lair when you had the Ranger class to set up so that you're pressuring your opponent and generating more card advantage.
Yeah, I think the Lair is fine, but the counter on the Lair was definitely egregious. Not egregious, of course. That's maybe the wrong words. Yeah. That's just the Magic player go-to word. But now let's look at the sideboard here. What do you bring in against blue-white control? We already saw what Thiago is probably bringing in against Winota.
So I love Elite Spellbinder. I love Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. I'm actually a little bit interested in Skyclave. It can exile Portable Holes and can exile Wandering Emperors.
Okay. Well, let's see what they sideboarded. Let's head into game number 3 here. This one is for all the marbles.
Yeah, but it could very easily just be get out my Brutal Cathars, bring in Thalia and Spellbinder, and call it a day. We see a reasonable hand, a little land heavy from the Winota side and a 5th
But not
land.
a big deal with Fable, to be honest. Like, you always have that looting effect, and you just look at a hand with a lot of lands, Fable, and an Accelerant, and you're like, it'll work out. But now, do you cast it before, when Censor's available? Probably not. Oh, that's big. That was a time walk.
Yep.
March of Time Walk here.
Wha-
Another Fable is good, but you really wanted for Chris fans out there to be able to play something. A voice would be great. And
Even Prosperous Innkeeper.
yeah, when this turn gets passed back, Thiago's like, ooh, yes, thank you, because you're not doing anything on your opponent's turn.
Yeah. Oh, control deck, all they want is time.
Yeah.
Okay, and Thiago takes the time to buy Yorion here.
I know. I'm happy about that as well with Chris, so I'm
So,
slamming one of these Fables.
Yeah, I think I want to get a Fable resolved and dig
For
through my deck a
sure.
little bit more. I'm not super worried about what's going on turn 4.
Now,
Worst
turn
is
5,
Wandering Emperor.
Turn 5's a little more interesting because you want to try to nab
Yeah.
it to Fairy. But right now, yeah, I'm trying to cycle all this stuff away and try to set up a good follow-up, either Chariot, maybe a Winota, and something like that. Go from there.
Okay, so yeah, another land go from Saporito.
Gotta have Wandering Emperor on your mind right here on your radar. Another bad draw here from Chris.
Yeah, and with this token, they were going to get a treasure and get to 5 mana, so like a voice would have been great.
There it is. Voice and Winota off the top. That was excellent.
Yeah, I'm going full disruption this turn. I want to go voice Spellbinder and set up my Winota.
Now, what order do you do this?
I want to Spellbinder first.
You want to Spellbinder first. Don't you just attack first? Is there any thought to that?
You got to attack first.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter, right? Because you could Spellbinder first to try to force a Wandering Emperor, but you're attacking into it anyways. You don't care if it gets
Voice actually
exiled.
forces Wandering Emperor too.
They both force it.
Yeah.
So I like playing one of them pre-combat.
I just really want my voice to resolve, but you're also pretty sure Thiago doesn't have an absorb, but they do have a gust. And there's not much you could have done there. If you spellbind the gust, they can just pay.
I think I'm happier than that than them gusting the token, to be honest. Oh no, what is that?
The elf? We're getting a treasure.
Oh no, I think that's maybe a little bit of an aggressive play by Chris. Looks like it wouldn't have mattered with a March or a Gust on this token, but you definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Don't do
get
that.
Your attack in. If you get your
Now, if we put the voice on top, I'm actually pretty happy with going Elite Spellbinder voice next turn and then setting up for Winota.
Unfortunately, can't do that. Only 1 white mana.
That is big. Okay, voice and Fable is still fine, I think. I lead on voice here and just see what's up. You are putting a lot of your eggs in the basket, though. Maybe, yeah, this is tough. This is a tough turn because the spell I want to play the most is probably Elite Spellbinder, but it means that's your only play. Yeah. Which is not great.
I'm not sure what I would do in this. This is a tough turn.
I think I still go voice Fabled.
But we got what, 3 cards in Thiago's hand?
4, it looks like.
It's a 4.
One of them is a bird.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong spot. Yeah, 4. So 3 unknowns.
Yeah.
That's not a lot going on because the Yorion is not particularly impactful.
Yeah, Yorion's not particularly impactful, but the one thing I want to do is make a play that sets me up for a resolved Supreme.
Yes, and that's why I really want
still
that
be able to
voice.
attack. Voice is the number 1 card I want to play now. After thinking about it, and then voice Fable I think still seems fine. Maybe there's some world that you just play voice and you don't even play Fable, but honestly, you're playing Winota. You came to play. It's an 80 card deck. If they drew one of their verdicts, cool. It's not even the worst for you. This is the card you actually don't want to get countered.
Oh no, just a Delusion response. Okay, I'm pretty happy if I'm in the Winota.
Do you still play Fable of the Mirror Breaker, or do you just attack for 1?
I think I play the Fable.
I think I play it too. Nick,
this is Chris Kavanagh.
Chris agrees there. Sorry about that. Everyone has just a name, it's tough to get them all right. Sorry about that, Chris.
We will be calling everyone John Doe for the rest of the
time. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Absolutely. So, is there a verdict? If there's not a verdict, then there better be an absorb or something for this Winota. And if there's no verdict here, I think you're plenty fine, starting with an Elite Spellbinder or something. But this looks pretty scary for Thiago.
Yeah, you really want to verdict here, but then you're leaving yourself a little open to a Winota. I think ideally you would have land verdict, hold up Gust.
Yeah, or portable hole verdict, hit the voice, but decides not to do that. Yorion? Okay, that's
we're
pretty
hitting the token and then Yorioning the hole and hitting the voice. That's pretty good, but now this Winota's going to land.
And it's only going to have, I guess it will have 2.
We're going to get 2 triggers. of Wynota
Discard,
here.
get that Temple Garden out of there.
Yep.
Probably keep the Spellbinder, though.
Yeah, I'm down to keep Spellbinder.
And yeah, this is going to be a big flip. If this is 2 whiffs, big advantage.
Oh, they decide to keep everything. Oh, okay. This allows them to not expose the reflection. They can just copy the elf to get their 2 triggers.
I like that.
Okay, I'm cool with this.
I'd still get rid of it, I think, but I think it's close because that elf isn't going to be blocked anyways. I guess
But it means the reflection doesn't get blocked.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because yeah, reflection on Elite Spellbinder is pretty nice. In their draw step, you can take it.
We find a Thalia. That's
Thalia,
okay.
And a brick. Oh no!
That's not great.
Not like this, because now we see there's only one target, or one card that can attack, and now something just like a Teferi Tukwinota just completely stabilizes this board. A big sigh of relief from Thiago. No 6/6 that puts in, no Grave Titans just got put into play.
Yeah, definitely not great. Now I'm no longer feeling good if I'm in the Wynota side.
Yeah.
Especially after that deluge, you know their hand is gassed back up. Yeah, they just never really got a lot of pressure going in this game.
Yeah.
Taking turn 2 off, not being able to, get this Spellbinder down at any point.
Yeah, it was just, I think Chris played pretty well, to be honest. It's just that double whiff is so brutal. And there's Tovlar, the next card, of course.
Ooh.
That's the ultimate tip.
When you're
the
on
ultimate
5 mana
tip.
too.
You had 12 cards to find Tovlar, and now you hit it on the 13th. Love it. Love it.
Lucky number 13.
So this is going to force the hand of Reflection, copying Spellbinder or something, a big absorb.
We're already back up to 20.
Yeah.
No good attack.
Yeah, but do you just have to do it anyways to get the trigger? I mean, you can the reflection, right? You can copy the reflection, copying the other one. I actually don't know how that works because it's a saga, right? Like if you reflection this reflection, I think maybe I don't know.
It's good. You end up getting. You can do that on end step, and then untap with a bunch of things and set up for one big attack potentially. But that's 2 turns down the road.
But what I'm saying right now is, wouldn't you want a reflection of Kiki Jiki, the reflection, so you're not putting your real reflection at risk?
Yeah.
Okay, but it does work that way. It doesn't turn into a Fabled Mirror Breaker instead.
No.
Yeah. Okay. I just don't know. So maybe that's a slight misstep, or maybe we don't know what the cards do.
Okay, another Wynota trigger here on this attack.
And if you draw Tovlar and then you hit nothing, okay, the Tovlar did resolve, so that is big pressure here. Is this settle? Well, don't have enough mana for that. Never mind.
Yeah, had 3 mana, so that's enough for the Omen. So now we're, if I'm Saporito, I'm thinking I just need to find a verdict.
Yeah, verdict. Or, I mean, you do get to block Wynota here for free, and you
10.
take 8. Or you do take 10, yeah.
And I've got 2 reflections for this Huntmaster.
Yeah.
If you don't have verdict, it's going to be bad news bears.
Yeah, we're gonna see right now if Thiago has verdict or not based on what he blocks.
Both on the bottom. That's a fist pump for Wynota fans.
So here, if Thiago blocks Yori into the 6/6, pretty clear we got a Wrath. If we see it to Wynota, pretty clear we don't have a Wrath. So this is going to be a big block. And with Thiago thinking about it, I don't think he has it.
Yeah. If you have it, it's a no think.
Yeah. It's just absorb the max amount of damage you can and go from there. But also, now the game is just over if you don't deal with Tovlar, because those 2 reflections on Tovlar is nasty. It's absolutely nasty because it is not a legendary creature.
Yeah, and they're gonna have haste, so you're just gonna smash in with 3 6/6s.
That also each bring 2 2/2s to the battlefield. No big deal.
Yeah. So if Thiago doesn't have removal here, he's looking at an attack next turn that's going to be for 24.
No big deal.
Between the 2 wolf tokens that exist there, the Thalia, and the 3 potential 6/6s.
And a little update from the other table. We do still have our 2 Isn't players still playing, but our consolation matches where they get a little extra money. Mental Misstep takes down SKK, and Screenwriter New York takes down Nick. So Greasefang didn't do too great out of there. So they'll get a little prize increase. So congrats to them. All right, coming in for damage. We're going to see where the block is. Thiago's probably actually just thinking, can I win the game if I don't find Verdict? And if the answer is no, then maybe you just still block Tovlar even if you don't have it. And there's also some thought to blocking Thalia, taking 12, because then at your upkeep, you can sack Omen and then have Verdict mana if you don't have another land. This would all be solved for us if we knew Thiago's hand. And we could think along, but that's another avenue of thinking to give yourself a couple more looks at it.
Yeah, especially, if Thiago has another Omen in hand or, other ways to dig, getting rid of the Thalia could be important there.
But looks like goes to Winota. That's the best block if you plan to have Yorion exist for the next turn. And Yorion existing for the next turn means the rest of the creatures exist, which could be bad news bears.
It's already bad news bears.
Bad news wolves. There's no bears, actually. Why couldn't they make 2/2 bears? That's like, one of the 2 tokens I have, and it could be a great token here when we come back to Paper Magic. But no, had to be wolves.
Nobody wants bear tokens, Corey.
I know. Yeah, sad. Your elementals are much better than my bears. I'll give you that. But my treasure's way cooler than your elemental. We'll have a token battle. All right, Ross has been eliminated from the broadcast. We'll be continuing this as a solo caster.
Okay, I'm going home.
Okay, so it looks like we're in main phase. So is this okay, that's a field. That leads me to believe we got a Verdict follow-up here, because you get to take red mana too, so no more Winotas. I can't imagine they play a mountain, but we're going to find out here soon. You can't play many basics at all.
Yeah, I imagine there's not more than one.
There's got to be at least one, though, right?
Who would be a little surprised? Oh,
Ooh.
No basic. And that's really bad because, but okay,
That's
so we can
also
exile the
bad.
Huntmaster.
Okay, that puts you to 12.
So we live, and the Huntmaster in Kavanagh's hand is not going to do much. Chariot is great,
but you can't cast because of Thalia.
Yeah.
Oh,
but honestly, I'm not even sure I want to, because you're just so worried about Verdict.
Yeah, I guess. But also, if you attack with everything, what's the creature you block? I think I block Thalia.
Yeah.
So it might work out. I think I cast Chariot. Thiago clearly does not have a Verdict right now. I would send everything at face. Hope they block Thalia and jam Chariot right now. I'd be all in on this. So Thiago took a line that did allow him to survive while keeping Yorion here. The risk of, maybe that just not being enough. But honestly, it's a really calculated risk, because not even a Brutal Cathar was lethal here. So a tight play.
And at this point, the Yorion has prevented 6 damage, which is as good as having Chump Block.
Yeah.
Actually, even more, because the Winota would be attacking this turn.
Big block there from Thiago to eliminate Azeka's Chariot. And then, as it stands right now, Ross, you take 8. Wandering Emperor makes a token. You have Hall as a blocker stabilized right there. That is stable right now. So Chariot kind of had to be played just to make sure you have lethal.
And this really could be Thiago playing around a Chariot follow-up, knowing he doesn't have a Verdict.
Yeah. Wow.
If that's the case, then kudos to him.
Yeah.
Because blocking that Thalia is so tempting.
It's so tempting, especially when it's 2 Reflection to Kiki Jiki. They don't really do a lot as, as reflections. Ooh, tries to cast Chariot, will then be realizing you can't do that.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Knowing that there's no Verdict there, I was actually thinking about a possible slow-up turn where you just attack with the 2 wolf tokens and the Thalia, and then you end step, sink all your mana into copying reflections, and make a bigger attack the next turn.
I honestly think one of 2 things. Chris didn't, realize the Azeka's Chariot play was off the table and was just planning on jamming that, so his mana was going to be used up, or just thought for sure Thalia was going to be blocked. And I kind of would have been under that assumption as well, and just jam, hope that Thalia gets blocked. But just a really nice play from Thiago.
Whether one of those things, given that he went to cast the Chariot.
Exactly. Going to cast the Chariot, I think, leads me to believe that this was a slight oversight.
And is that only 2 cards in Thiago's hand?
Looks like only 2, yeah, but I believe there is a Memory Deluge in the yard for a little bit of extra value. Plays the Triome, which leads me to believe that there is a decent A couple of cards there.
Yep. Thiago does have 8 mana to flashback the Deluge with Thalia, and we'll get to look at an 8th card as a result.
And there's Pathway. And here's the kind of scenario. You can play Chariot pre-combat, and then if it gets countered in some way, like a sensor or something, then you know you can attack with those creatures and maybe you have lethal, right? But if it's an Absorb, you're just like, oh no. Like Absorb could just be kind of GG here. And all of a sudden, if I had an advantage bar, I'd be swearing this back into Thiago's favor. And here we go. We're just getting busy. Do you just throw that hall up? Yeah, deck the halls.
La 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 la.
And now, if I have a sensor in hand, if I have a Dwari Disruption, that's the exact blocks I'm making. Pretty clear that your opponent tried to cast something.
You can't cast the Disruption in it.
Oh, yeah, good point. All right. If I had a Spell Pierce in hand, that's the exact block. All right, here comes Chariot. This does present lethal because the Hall and the Yorion is not going to be enough. So you got to find something from Thiago. Pressure's on.
We got
one Wandering Emperor, and this game is basically over. A main phase cycle. What is this? Is this a Teferi? Teferi is not enough.
It feels like a Deluge to me. 5 mana.
I mean,
try to find like a portable hole, but even that's not good enough at this point.
Yeah. Oh man.
Deluge means you're done. Is this a Teferi?
Even a Teferi, it's not enough. You need to Teferi
the Thalia and portable hole. Teferi, Tuck, Thalia, portable hole, a token.
Yeah. I mean, if you have portable hole, you would have just started with that and held up hall because that's enough. That's enough to survive. So I don't think portable hole's in the hand. I think it's Teferi thinking, okay, if I draw something, you can do it, but that's not going to work. I think this is going to be Chris taking this down.
Yeah, wow. This game swung really, it looked like it was going to swing towards wow.
Chris takes it down. Unreal. Congratulations to Chris.
Didn't quite have enough to deal with that Chariot.
Wow. And we do have an update from our back table. Phoenix takes it down.
Defeating Azorius Control.
Azorius Control, Yorion decks were just crushing throughout the tournaments. They went in 1 and 2, if I'm correct, if I'm remembering. Went in 1 and 2.
They were our last 2 undefeateds as well. So the only loss in the Swiss that the second place person had was to Thiago. Thiago lost a semi-irrelevant round 9 at least for him.
We don't even know if he actually played. There could have just been a concession. But both blue-white players lost at the very last moment when it mattered the most with that invite on the line. So what? It looks like we got Chris made it. And Nathan, right?
No, Nathan was Azorius.
Gracias?
Yep.
Okay, Chris and Gracias will be added to that lineup of 48 players for the December end-of-year Manatraders series. So huge congratulations to them. But you know what? That's kind of the lower your shoulders moment a little bit, because now you kind of, if I'm going into this tournament, my goal is number one, top 8. Top 8 is always hard enough with 228 players. But now when you make it to the top 2, I'm just like, okay, I got that carrot on the end of the stick. I got that tournament that, is going to be a really big deal to qualify for. But you know what? There's still $1,000 on the line. I like $1,000.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
if you're offering, I'll take it.
Oh, I'm not. You can battle these skilled magicians for it, but that's about all you got. So a quick reminder before we head to the break: if you want to be a part of this series, Popper is going to be the main May Manatraders event next month. It's going to be really exciting. So if that's your format, maybe if that's not your format, but you just like how this tournament is run, you like winning thousands of dollars and being a part of this December end of year tournament, feel free to join us here for this qualifier season. That'll be starting here in a little bit. We'll give you a exact time on that a little bit later as we all figure out stuff behind the scenes. And if you want to save yourself some money and join Manatraders loan program and be a part of a really, really great feature where you can not only be testing for Popper, you can test for Pioneer for this Pro Tour, this in-person Pro Tour that's coming up here in November, as well as just any of the formats, modern, standard, whatever you want to play. Manatraders subscription is where it's at. And ! Bash Bros in the chat will save you 20% off that subscription for the first 2 months, which is just the best deal out there. 20%, it's unheard of. in the percentage off game
We
of
found out
Manatraders.
yesterday that it is significantly better than Gabriel Nassif.
We did see that. Yeah, Nassif, great content creator, Hall of Famer, gave us that huge raid. We give you 5% more though here with the Bash Bros. I mean, that's this many. I mean, that's a lot. So, all right, everyone, that's going to do it for our semifinals here at the Manatraders series. We're going to take a very short break, get the finals all lined up, and bring you the dramatic conclusion here of this event. So don't go anywhere. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Manatraders series event. My name is Corey Baumeister. That's Ross Merriam, and we are going to be lining up the finals here between Chris and Gracias por Tanto. Really impressive stuff from both players. We have Naya Winota up against Is It Phoenix, taking down Blue White Control. Both of them just took down Blue White Control Yorian in pretty impressive fashion for at least the Winota matchup. How do you feel about that semifinals, Ross?
Yeah, really demonstrated the newfound resilience that Winota has gained, and that is what has launched it into the conversation for one of the best decks in the Pioneer format.
It's definitely in the conversation, if not just the standout to me.
Yeah, we really thought in both games that that Chris won in that semifinal against Thiago Saporito, that the corner had been turned, and it looked like Saporito had a hold on both of them. Not full, but it looked like the corner had turned and things were moving in that direction. And he was able to find a timely Winota in game 2 that put the game away, and a timely Azeka's Chariot in game 3. Even if the Chariot took a little while to come down because of Chris's own Thalia.
And it was some impressive play, just some awareness of what Thiago had to do with that Field of Ruin, looking at the open decklist tournament, realizing there's no basics. I'm already going to have this extra mana. Put it in a position where maybe you top deck a Chariot, you don't have a 5th land to play, then doesn't block Thalia accordingly. Everything went perfect as far as that turn went for Thiago Saporito. It just so happened that the follow-up from Thiago wasn't good enough to be able to take it down. So tight play from both players, but yeah, really impressive stuff from Chris to be able to take that down. So let's take a quick look at the bracket here while we got players ready to go. We can feel free to let them know, Adrian, that they can start as well, and then we can get into it. But let's take a look at the bracket, see our players that have made it here. We have Chris up against Gracias por Tanto that made it to the finals. They will be making it to that final event in December. So huge congratulations to them. They will be joined by 2 players in that qualifier league season for the month of April. The top 2 players from those that played at least 20 matches, you got to play a lot of matches there to do it, will be added to that final tournament. And if we will have 4 people that are being added each month to that tournament. So impressive stuff from them. There's the rest of the top 8. They'll be walking away with some cold hard cash that will be sent out in their Manatraders wallet. And it's a huge pay increase if you are a Manatraders member for this. If you are not a member, first place, $400. Second place, $200. You want to be a member, because then it is $3,000 and $2,000. So you get a good service out of it. Plus, then these tournaments become really worthwhile, and you get a lot of prize money up top, Ross.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into leaving, $4,400 on the table, then sure, don't sign up.
I can't imagine there's a lot of people that are not Manatraders members, because even when you're starting this tournament, it's like, yeah, I'll sign up if I'm not signed up and, pay the $15.
Making your money back in equity alone.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not even $15 when you use the Bash Bros code. It's even cheaper, 20% of that $15. Let's hear it. What is the low price that they can get in for this?
Well, take 20% off 15, you get to 12.
Okay. I was just, I know you like to flex your mathness. And
that one's not too hard.
Okay, we're warming you up, but we're gonna go on to calculus here as the broadcast goes on. Okay,
I'll be doing derivatives in the corner, and Corey can bring you the match commentary.
You're doing what? All right, everyone. So we're gonna take a look. Let's take a look at the deck list of these players while we get it sorted out. And first up, we got Naya Winota. Just kidding. First up, we got the Is It Phoenix deck that we didn't see win, but just took down Blue White Control. Tell us about this one a little bit. I believe, this is the one we did see in the top 8.
They defeated Innistrad, Nick Price, in the top 8. on Mardu Greasefang. So
Hmm.
this is a list that, we went over it before that match, but if you weren't there for that, more towards Temporal Trespass than Treasure Cruise on the Devil Split, though we do see a second cruise in the sideboard if they want to be more controlling.
Hmm.
And a few extra counter spells in the main. We know they took down Azorius Control in the semis. I bet those counter spells came in handy in the main deck, but against Wynota, you're really just hoping one of them lines up against either Fable or Zika's Chariot in game
Yeah.
one, and then getting them out of your deck.
Yeah, 100%. And God, Gracias Portanto's deck here is just wild. I love the amount of one-ofs. I would love to pick Gracias's brain with just, was this intentional in the sense of an open decklist tournament so you keep people guessing, or was it really, like you wanted functional cards that come in two matchups, like instead of two Fries you have two Aethergust because it also helps out against mono green, like those kind of slots. When I'm really focusing on a big tournament, that's what that screams out to me, is you're just like, okay, I did the numbers on my mono green devotion matchup and I really want X to come out, but I don't have enough cards. I'm going to change that Fry to a second Aethergust that's also good against Winota, stuff like that. Or if this is just, I want to keep people guessing on what kind of options I could have, so that people play a little, say, a little too cautious against you trying to play around one-ups. But yeah, let's take a quick look at this Naya Winota deck. We did just see it, so we're not going to spend too much time on this. And Naya Winota's pretty stock.
Pretty stock in the main here. The one notice that Ranger class over a fourth copy of Fable. And the sideboard, pretty stock as well. So yeah, pretty typical stuff going on here. Those deafening silences, those are going to come in handy against Phoenix.
Absolutely. Yep, for sure will. So it sounds like our players are ready for one final match for all the marbles, not the marbles we usually play for. Instead, they just get thousands of dollars. So kicking it off here, Gracias Portanto coming down with Thing in the Ice for turn 2.
That's incredibly important here, especially on the play with no elf on turn 1 for Wynota, and you love Thing in the Ice against Ranger class.
Oh, yeah, you do. And looking at this hand from Chris, we're seeing a just no 3-drop, so we're going to very likely see Ranger class be leveled up and then just tap land into just 2 Winotas, which is good. But depending on what we do from Gracias Portanto's side, you can just Lightning Axe this one creature when you go to level this, and you're not getting hit with a Winota and another Winota off the top there, Ross.
Yeah, it looks like Chris Kavanagh here kept a hand that had a turn 4 Wynota pretty well locked up, had a 2-drop, really wanted to find something to do on turn 3, and it did not. Has found all the expensive cards in his deck, and this draw is very clunky. And against 2 copies of Thing in the Ice, there's 1 back for Gracias in the hand. This is going to be tough.
Yeah, how do you feel about that no Lightning Axe on the Wolf, even when you can discard Phoenix, and just says, all right, I'll block with Thing. I'm not worried about it. Maybe saving for this Winota, but that's kind of what Chris wants right now. He's like, please kill this first Winota. And the one thing I will say about having 3 Winotas is they're going to die. So it's actually not the worst, because although this card is legendary, it just has to be killed every single time. So having multiple copies of it is not the worst.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm a little it's a little strange the play that Gracias played here. Didn't get that second Thing in the Ice down. Now, if Hall was their only land,
or play Is It Charm there, yeah.
Well, so if Hall was their only land, I think holding up Charm and Axe so you can stop either 4-drop, Chariot, or Wynota is fine. But I would have just shocked myself with the Steam Vents. You're not under any pressure. Play that second Thing in the Ice and start working on getting both of these down.
Yeah, because that's just how you win against Winota. Now, the one problem that you have with that is Brutal Cathar is actually good against Phoenix. And here we're going to see the flip. That's just a removal spell for that Wolf. Now there's not going to be any Winota triggers, and boom, here comes 7. And the nice thing about Awoken Horror, 7 times 3 is more than 20, and so that it's always a 3-turn clock. So now you just kind of protect it, and if you get to hit for 7 here, if only there was a card that could let you take an extra turn next turn to just close this out.
Well, yeah, I think so even through 1 blocker, the Temporal Trespass wins, and through 2 blockers, you have some removal to clear something away. And another Fiery Impulse. Yeah, this looks like a pretty routine game for Is It Phoenix here. Just not a lot going from the Naya Wynota side. Took 2 of their first 3 turns off, essentially. Did nothing on turn 1, nothing on turn 3 when they were on the draw. And and that really is just not going to be good enough in a match where the Izzet Phoenix deck, even though they've been getting a little bit more controlling and they have the ability to play a long game, they can also just cast Thing in the Ice at turn 2 and get going.
Yeah. And the one thing I absolutely love about Izzet Phoenix here in this matchup, it is so incredibly good against Winota, especially post board. If you have some more cards that kill Winota, Red Cap Melee being the best one. I don't think a lot of lists play this. And in fact, I don't think Gracias Portanto plays that. But let's take a look at the Izzet sideboard and see what we're going to bring in. That's usually a lot more important than what comes in for Winota. And taking another refresher here, you see Fry, you see Aether Gust. That's really the only cards. You don't see those incredibly high impact cards like Red Cap Melee. That's the card for this matchup post board, and 0 copies here.
Yeah, so I really like the 3 cards you named, Gust and Fry. I also really want that 4th copy of Thing in the Ice. We saw just how good it was there. There's not a lot of removal out of the Winota deck. I'm also inclined to bring in that Treasure Cruise and trim on Trespass. You're going to become more of a control deck in these games. You're going to spend your early turns playing a lot of removal. That game 1, I think, is a bit of an anomaly when your opponent's draw is rather weak, when you just have all this time in the world to set up your things, and you're on the play as well.
What things?
But if you have more cruises in your deck, you can have that turn 4 thing that you cast alongside a removal spell or a cantrip, and then still have enough gas back up to transform it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm getting this Negate and Spell Pierce out of my deck. Izzet Charm as a 2-mana shock,
get it out of there,
is not great, but might stay in because I really only want those 5 cards: the 1 thing, the 1 cruise, the 1 Fry, and the 2 gusts.
Yeah, I think I'm getting Chart of the Course out of my deck as well. Just maybe you don't want to flood on this style of card. That's just card, advantage, expressive iteration, Chart of Course, piece of the puzzle. You can't be just doing that stuff against Winota. You'll get run over. But overall, I think I still like Izzet Phoenix's matchup. Not even talking about being an up a game here. And I think Izzet Phoenix is one of the decks that really does stand up against Winota. But Izzet Phoenix has been on a huge decline because, well, I don't love it against Mono Green. Mono Green Devotion has had a big incline. And I don't love it against Blue White Control. We saw what Blue White Control did to Izzet in the quarterfinals. Now, we did just see, Izzet took down Blue White Control, so it's not unwinnable. But Izzet Phoenix is not in the best of spots in the metagame, but it still just shows a deck that it's so resilient that no matter what, it's still going to be strong.
And if you look at this list, it's pretty clearly tuned to beat control decks. So we came knowing that our aggro matchups are usually pretty good. I would say, at that point, maybe you fear you're a little weak to mono green, and fortunate that the mono green decks fell by the wayside late in this tournament, so there were none in the elimination rounds for you to have to go through.
Oh, look at that hand from the Winota player. Can't keep that, can you?
I know Rending Volley is such a clean answer to Thing in the Ice, but it's hard to bring in purely reactive cards in a matchup where they have so much removal and card draw.
I think you have to bring in Rending Volley, though. Like, Thing in the Ice just torches you. And if you can, in response to that 4th trigger,
I guess your Brutal Catharsis always die.
Yeah,
you gotta bring it in. But
I think so. Yeah, but can you keep this hand? Like you're decent if you go land go, your opponent goes land go or whatever, and then on turn 2 they go thing. You get to volley it. You pray that you at least have something to play by turn 3. One card. I think I'd keep this, but you know me, I'm a loose goose when it comes to keeping a hand.
They are keeping it, and honestly, it looks like it's gonna pay off. If you look at the Izzet player's hand, it's cheap removal and Thing in the Ice, so they're not gonna do a whole lot.
What about a Lawnmower off the top? That was a great draw.
Yeah, Llanowar Elves is an excellent draw. I assume it will very quickly die.
There is honestly some thought to me just going Temple Garden tapped, go. Because Llanowar, like you're playing into that 1 mana where they have it available, and then if you just think about it and your opponent is likely to play Thing in the Ice on turn 2, you get to Rending Volley it and then play Llanowar, and then they have to kill it during their next turn. Of course, if you draw a 3-drop or something, you feel pretty stupid with that line, but...
So interesting that they chose to shock themselves to play the elf to hold up volley, which really signaled it, but they got paid off.
Yeah.
Gracias just jams the Thing in the Ice into the Rending Volley, but nothing to do here on turn 3, and now a pile of ops. And we'll see if Opt can find an answer to this Chariot, because right now, Chariot is looking great.
Yeah, Gracias Portanto is just like, please do not play Chariot. And what's better than 1 Chariot?
Yeah.
A second one.
This is a great series of threats against what Gracias is presenting.
Yeah.
I think I would have fired off one of those ops in main phase, by the way. See if you can hit a second
Thing in the Ice. Yep, for sure. I would have for sure done that as well. All
Said
right.
all 3 in response to Chariot.
Up,
So
up, up.
Chariot's going to resolve. We found Iteration, 4th Opt, Hall of Storm Giants. That is not a great series of hits.
No. Now what my brain goes to is like, okay, I might try to Lightning Axe with a Zika's Chariot while it's in combat, but now all I'm thinking about is trying to kill creatures and just stay alive and try to set up a Temporal Mastery Galvanic turn because you're that far behind with just one Chariot on the battlefield.
No. We're jamming.
We're jamming. I mean, this isn't the worst because you get to, crew
Chariot
that,
with
and you
Winota.
have to fry this and probably Lightning Axe, and that
yeah.
leaves Gracias por Tanto with just 2 cards in hand. Like, that's not great.
And it leaves Winota with 2 cards in hand, but those 2 cards are excellent.
Those cards are very good. Arguably the best 2 that could be in the hand, barring maybe one more. And are you letting this go?
That would be some.
Yeah. I mean, you're still kind of in trouble with just the Chariot and Tovlar, and even just these cats coming in.
Pitching the pathway here, opt an expressive iteration to try to find some answers. I'm I know it worked out reasonably well. But I was kind of inclined there to just crew with the cats, let them use an axe, and then play another Chariot. Force them to deal with my Chariots with all their removal and make sure my Winota lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that was definitely an option as well. And now it's the point, I think Gracias por Tanto is just like, if you have another Winota, can I win anyways? And with that Lightning Axe, you can. I like firing off pieces here. Like,
Same.
You gotta just kind of jam. I think so far we've seen Gracias por Tanto play a little bit more defensive than maybe I would have or not. We got 1 Arclight Phoenix to the board.
And we put an Arclight Phoenix in the graveyard. We found Cruz Trespass, so 2
that's
great
great.
hits.
And we have 15 cards in the sideboard, so I mean that's a good setup here. And here comes just good old 8 power, and here's Cats and Wolves going together.
Who's counting?
That's what I said, right? Yeah.
Okay, I count 14 cards in the graveyard for Gracias.
Like
is that 15?
15, yep.
Okay, well 14 that aren't.
But who's
Phoenix? 14 that aren't Phoenix.
Yeah.
So actually perfect because now you can cruise, exile 7 of them, cruise goes in, that creates an 8th non-Phoenix card and trespass in the same turn.
Or you can opt. Oh, it's 13. Is it 13 cards? Is that what you said? Okay, it is 13. So I guess you want to start with an opt, right?
Yeah, so that'll get us to 14. So we can cast those 3.
Spire Bluff Canal is quite the tilt of a draw too, because even if it was like an untapped land, you could like opt and try to set up Galvanic Temporal if you could find it.
What they really, really want is to find a second Phoenix here, and they've got the axe to discard it.
Mm-hmm. So
opt hits.
Drum roll.
What did we draw off this opt?
This is just Temporal.
I think they're going for the Trespass.
It's another
first.
Treasure Cruise.
I would be inclined to cruise before trespassing.
Yeah, but I mean, you are just facing down lethal, right? Like, I think you have to Lightning Axe one of these wolves too to just bring back Phoenix, get in some damage, and then maybe use it as a blocker.
We're trespassing, so you get to untap again. So there's no hurry on the axe.
You need one more spell though to bring back Phoenix.
Yeah, so let's just cruise.
Do we have enough? I don't think we have enough. That's 6 cards.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think you axe, discard a card, and it sucks, but
it was 13 total, so there were 12 non. Okay, yeah, 13 total is actually a big tilt.
We discarded one of the cruises instead of the land, which makes sense. I mean, we don't have that many cards, but Thing in the Ice plus Treasure Cruise, that's pretty big. Yeah. If we can hit 3 spells, this is actively amazing. Okay, 3 fresh ones. Considers a great start. What are the other 2 cards? Come on, hand cam.
They kept on top with the Consider.
Okay,
now they've got Iteration. They need to find land and a 1-mana spell here.
But they're not even dead if they don't find it, though. That's the thing.
Oh, they found the land, but no spell.
Oh, it's tapped, but honestly, they're not dead here. Arclight Phoenix chumps Tovlar. This is fine. Rending Volley off the top. Oh my God. That was the best possible draw next to a Winota here. Being able to kill Thing in the Ice, play a Chariot. That is almost assuredly going to be GG. As we say on Commander Versus, get him a body bag right there, because that is
you gotta block something.
Yeah.
I guess we're
trying to just block that 6. Block the 6. I would anyways. Hope to get 3 spells. Because, like, you're not beating that Tovlar. And, yeah, I mean, you're not beating anything at this point. So when we see the blue-white decks in this kind of scenario, you get ready for Supreme Verdict and stuff. But Izzet doesn't really have that way to bring it back. So I just don't know how we're going to be able to do this.
I
And
think we're
here,
gonna have to rip another thing and then iteration into enough spells to
yeah.
transform it. Oh my god, we hit it!
Oh! Oh my god. It's never easy. It's never easy. But the thing is, expressive iteration can't find 3 spells, so you need like consider,
Yeah, yes, that's
and then
fine.
yeah. What are we finding? Yeah, let's open that exiled window. We'll be able to see one of them. There we go. It'll pop up right there. Oh my god. This has been a finals match. And these 2 decks are fast decks, so you know, this has not been a long one, but that doesn't mean it hasn't been a good one.
And consider in
That's
the exile.
consider. Okay, so here comes consider.
And
Temporal
trespass,
mastery.
and
I think they have enough. Oh my god. And there's a Phoenix in the yard.
I think they have to get rid of the Phoenix, though.
That's still something that you are happy to do because Temporal Mastery comes here. If we top deck a spell, you can flip thing and attack for 14. I guess that's not enough. We did rip the spell and Otawara as a land, though. I mean, either way, this is looking great.
Okay.
Now, when do you do this is the real question. When do you activate or when do you attack with thing? When do you flip it?
Well,
Because if you don't play a spell, it goes to night. And then you can fight the wolves.
we gotta just impulse main phase and bounce everything and attack for 7. Or attack for 14, I mean. I think it's just impulse. It's not, you know, target a creature, it doesn't matter because the thing is gonna trigger. And there's not really anything they can do about that.
But even the follow-up turn is still not great. But yeah, I think
Well,
God, yeah, it's brutal.
Tovolar's gives them 3 blockers, which is enough to live. But if you
no, we're going tonight. I think this is interaction.
Why are we waiting?
Because here it's nighttime.
Skyclave Apparition is a Ghouler.
Robert Ghouler. So they are 3/3s. So fight is not enough here to be able to.
I really do not like passing the turn here because even if this is a brick, Apparition's a great job, and even if it's a brick, they attack. You have to do it combat, and then they get to immediately recast something.
I think they're going to be able to immediately get to recast stuff anyways. Is the problem?
But you would have got to attack for 14, and suddenly you have outs to kill them.
You can't attack for 14. They play a Tovolar and they animate Chariot and kill you.
Oh, they have the Chariot.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So that line is not possible.
So you only get to get in for 7.
Yeah, you only get to get in for 7, and you have to hold back Hall. And like even
That's
then,
not great.
Exactly. There was no perfect line.
Yeah, they really needed one more card in that graveyard.
Yeah,
If they had been
really
able to
did.
keep that Phoenix, and
That'd be game.
Yeah.
It would have just been game. Yep. Or I guess you wouldn't have been able to get that 3rd spell, but
yeah,
because that was only the 2nd spell
then,
with Temporal Trespass.
Then you would have gotten them to 12, cast the Impulse, transformed, get to attack, force a chump block.
They couldn't have got back Phoenix no matter what. It was only 2 spells they cast last turn with the Temporal Mastery, I believe.
They iterated into consider.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
No, that would have been perfect because then 14 would be lethal because they would have just gotten in 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really did. They just needed one more card in the yard to turn this game around.
Yeah,
should as is. There's just no way for them to get back onto the front foot. That Chariot's lying there, not letting them get aggressive.
I mean, there is still one mystery card, so it's a question mark. Which one of these do you cast? You go big card, and
I think
we
you
decide.
go big. Your opponent's a 2. You're a 15.
But I mean, Skyclave to hit Awoken Horror is still very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just play this, and like this Otawara is kind of cool.
What are you doing? Bouncing a token?
I mean, I just think you probably bounce the 6/6 and maybe hope. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't look great, but I think you have to Otawara here and hope to draw something.
I think you have to bounce a token. You're still playing defense.
Yeah.
And you got a 7/8 back, at least you think you do.
But the thing is, if you don't bounce Tovlar, it is now on the other side where it just puts in more tokens every time. But yep, looks like they agree with you.
And they've got to find some. The Arclight Phoenix is not good enough.
Yeah, I think this is going to be GG here next turn for Chris, taking down April's Pioneer Manatrader series. Here comes the Skyclave. And that is it. Chris takes that down, forces game number 3. Faces number 3. That was an intense game where I did not think. Well, I mean, there was multiple back and forths, going back where there were spots where I didn't think either player was going to win, but.
Wynota deck, even though you think aggro decks, don't have really good top decks, but this Wynota deck has a lot of great ones.
Yep.
Granted, Rending Volley is one that comes in out of the sideboard, but Uh, we saw a really good back and forth there. Is it Phoenix almost getting back into it?
Yeah, probably takes out like the Prosperous Innkeeper. You don't really care about that kind of life gain or speed
Yeah.
for rending volleys, and just go to town there. We also saw the Skyclaves coming in.
I like the Thalias.
Yeah,
I like the Deafening Silences. I like the Skyclaves. I even
yeah,
kind of like the Archon of Emirias.
yeah,
Like 3 toughness is kind of a lot, stopping their spells.
yeah. I wonder if we bring in the Deafening Silence. We haven't seen it
Yeah.
yet, but I'm not 100%. Maybe it's just for the combo decks.
I could
But who knows?
honestly see bringing in 13 cards here and
Yeah,
cutting a lot.
a lot. Yeah, I mean it's tough though because Winota is one of those decks that it's a well-oiled machine. You can't go too crazy. If you're bringing in creatures that are like non-human and stuff like Skyclave, like Archon, it gets a little bit more acceptable. So that's why I love Archon and Skyclave as just sideboard cards because they
Yeah.
fit the deck's theme pretty well. But you bring in a lot of Thalias, you bring in a lot of Spellbinders, you bring in a lot of Volleys and Deafening Silences. All of a sudden, your hits are worse, and the chances that you actually trigger Winota go down as well.
That is true, but Thalia is also a human, so like Brutal Cathar is just not that great anyway.
Yeah,
So if I'm not
if
counting
you
that,
bring in Rending Volley, you probably take out Brutal Cathar.
yeah, Brutal Cathar is just too fragile. But we didn't see a ton of cyber cards though, so I wouldn't be surprised if not a lot of the creatures came in and it's just the Raining Volleys and Silences.
Yeah. All right, everyone. One last game here to decide the winner
Oh,
of this
there's a
Manatrader
Brutal Cathar
series.
though.
Yeah, we see Brutal Cathar plus
Interesting.
Rending Volley, a Llanowar Elf plus Chariot. Dang, that is a sneaper right there if I've ever seen one.
Excellent hand here, especially on the draw. If your elf lives, you could potentially just kill a turn, exile a turn 2 thing.
Yep. Pretty unlikely that it lives. There's so
Yeah.
much removal, but that's a mulligan.
Yeah, it was a very mediocre 7 from Izzet Phoenix. Multiple Del spells and no real cantrips. So
Yeah.
you just couldn't fill the graveyard.
And that card's great. You probably keep and probably pitch Cruise and just try to draw some other stuff there.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm
see.
inclined to put. Oh, looks like they put the Gust on the bottom.
Okay, that's reasonable as well. That would be my second card, I think. But yeah, decides to play the island instead of putting red stars out there. I like
Just
that because you want
guarantee
to
that you can use
opt.
your mana. Oh, did they just decline to opt?
Didn't opt. Okay.
I guess they know that they're just going to impulse and have a mana left now. But if you draw
But if you
another one
opt
mana
into
cantrip,
opt, yeah. Okay, interesting.
yeah, that's the kind of play that people often make without thinking of all the times you hit another 1 mana cantrip.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people do that with Modern Izzet Phoenix, and I never liked it.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a cruise deck, and they found, or is that
I
just not updating?
I think that is a second opt,
Yeah.
to be honest. Like straight commentator justice there for us there.
Yeah.
So let's take
And
a
they're
look at
using
those
all their
5
mana this
cards
turn,
for
so
pieces of
can't
the
opt
puzzle.
again.
Let's take a look at that window if we can, Adrian. That'd be great. Those 5 revealed cards from pieces of the puzzle. Okay, so it looks like that is a Fry.
A lot of removal.
I can't see all the cards.
Consider
and Young Peasy, and then a Play with Fire. So good options. What do you take here? You got Fry.
I'm inclined to take the Fry, so I have an answer to a Winota.
Yeah. And the Play with Fire is okay, but if you fire up that Ranger class, it's not going to kill that wolf either, and that's going to be out of range, and that wolf could actually be a problem. There's another Brutal Cathar.
This looks like a turn where they are going to fire off the Ranger class.
I think I would.
It's either that or play a 3 mana 2/2, and I think firing up the Ranger class is better.
Yep, agreed. And then
they have Play with Fire too. So
yes.
But they decide to Brutal Cathar. Interesting.
I mean, that's why we're here in the booth and these players are in the finals of this event, right?
I don't know. We'll see how it works out. Arclight Phoenix is a good draw. They got to find a way to discard it, but they've got a pretty full graveyard. I see 6 cards, so they can opt into Cruise here. Almost assuredly find another land, have Fry or Play with Fire up.
Or do start with Expressive Iteration to try to make sure you hit a land and try to set up for next turn being that Arclight turn. It's interesting because I think this has to be a big turn for you for the Is it Phoenix player. And yeah, looks like they agree.
They're deciding to Play with Fire to set up the Cruise. That's fine too.
I like that.
That's fine too. Get a creature off the battlefield.
But I think, I guess you don't want to hit the human over the wolf, but Brutal Cathar flipping probably doesn't happen that often in this matchup since both decks want to play cards so often. But let's see. We got another Arclight and 2 more lands. Not the best Cruise.
I'm okay with hitting lands when we're iterating. We gotta find ways to discard these Phoenixes though.
Yeah.
That's how we're turning the corner. So that's pretty key off this opt-in iteration. That's really what I'm looking for. But you're also under pressure from this Chariot.
Oh, Chariot. And here's one of those situations where that gust got put to the bottom. Imagine having a gust here. This mulligan could be really big because gust just delaying even a Chariot for a turn would be excellent here.
Exactly right.
But Treasure Cruise, of course, was good as well. So that is definitely not a mistake or anything. It's just a
Yeah.
situational play where if you didn't have to mulligan in a perfect world, you'd get both, and we would be a lot more ahead here. But here comes Chariot, brings in some cats.
See what the Optic brought the hand as well as their draw step.
And we see
Looks
Fry
like
just
maybe
like
a Thing
not
in the
looking
Ice.
good. Okay,
Yep.
Thing in the Ice is great.
But
And
not-
Rending Volley will deal with it. And Brutal Cathar, actually, it might be the worst possible, just
Yeah.
based on what Chris has in hand.
Okay, we're playing really conservatively around a Winota that isn't there. Getting
Mhm.
pretty punished here.
And I think you have to. That's another Chariot off the top. So the Cadillac is running rampant here. And now what do? Do you start with a Brutal Cathar? Do you start with a Rending Volley? Do you just animate and get busy? What's your play here, Ross? It's
Man,
tough. It's
Yeah,
tough.
there's a lot going on here. I'm inclined to play the Brutal Cathar, and to keep the Rending Volley around, force them to use a removal spell on what would otherwise be a weak creature.
Mhm.
And spend my turn that way. I spend all my mana that way too. Why are we tapping the Mana Confluence first? Now we're just signaling that I have a red card in my hand because I turboed in on this red land.
It's flexing.
Yeah.
It's flexing, as the kids would say.
Yeah, the Rending Volley is now face up.
All right, so seeing if we're going to Fry first. Now, this is maybe not the best timing. I guess
because
no,
it
this
gets
is
a counter
fine.
off the thing.
It does allow, the crew here. That's the one thing I was
True.
thinking. It does allow this.
And if you know the Rending Volley is there, then
which you don't technically, but
Yeah.
you do if you're paying attention to that kind of stuff. We see the Consider and Response, and bam, we got 8 damage that's going to be coming into play. And all of a sudden, we need a big draw step right now, or this is just going to be Chris taking this down with both sideboard games going to Winota.
Yeah, well, there's a
Big-
Lightning Axe.
big
That'll
draw.
get a Phoenix in the graveyard.
Okay, here's Expressive Iteration. What can it find?
Awkward part here, though, is Lightning Axe isn't going to be able to take down Chariot, and that's the card you're scared of the most.
I mean, with another Chariot, though, you're also like, we don't know that's there, but okay, there's an Aether Gust and an Iteration. Okay.
So now, but still a little awkward if we want to return a Phoenix. Yeah, because you got a Gust main phase, and I honestly kind of want to bottom this Chariot.
Yeah,
Because
for sure. Because if you find Winota, the game's over.
Yeah.
Because there has to be this Lightning Axe. So I think I would bottom this as well. Because your first one isn't going to be counter, but we'll see what happens. And here's an axe.
I'm going to axe a token.
Yeah.
I would axe a token.
I think I would axe Brutal Cathar as well, because you're dead to Winota. That's just how it is. We'll see if that was top or bottom, or if you got Moto Bug.
I'm just worried about more. I guess Chariot's going to bring back a bunch of tokens anyway. Or no, Chariot's going to bring a few more tokens.
Now, do you attack this turn?
Yeah.
You just jam them all. Say YOLO. You have enough tokens anyways. So yeah, I would agree.
Opponent has 2 cards in hand.
Yeah. It's usually just the feels bad of like, do I want to attack into Phoenixes? Because they usually come back. But with only 2 cards, you're really attritioned out. So I would agree.
There's
all right.
Another
Arclight Phoenix. Usually when you see 3 Phoenixes when you're this deck, you're like, oh, yeah.
Okay. Can we find the one Izzet Charm into a Trespass?
Okay. Yeah. If it's even left in. Izzet Charm is not a great card in this postboard match when the spell pierce ability is not there. That's Temporal Trespassing. And we're considering, okay, that's 3 spells.
Yeah, but 2 of the Phoenixes are in my hand.
Yeah.
Just haven't been able to get them in the graveyard.
Maybe that 4th one's on top and you get to put it into the graveyard. That's kind of the luck that our player has, that Gracias Portanto has. And it's not it.
Is that a Lightning Axe that they declined?
Yep. I mean, I think I agree with it. Like, what does a Lightning Axe do to these? You're at 2. You got to kill all the cats.
But you could have a bunch of Phoenixes behind. Oh my god, they drew the 4th one.
Oh my god! You drew it off the Consider instead of... Oh, that's the biggest tilt. All right, Faithless Looting off the top is what we really need. And Chris takes it down with some really awkward Phoenix draws. Now, I know you're a diehard Phoenix fan. You created the modern version, or at least you popularized it for sure. And you did a lot of winning with that deck. Usually, when you have 3 Phoenixes, It's pretty good, but not when you're top decking them at the end when
Yeah,
you need spells.
this version of the deck, you're relying on Lightning Axe. You see some, an Is a Charm or two in some lists, which is not a very good card, but can help you get Phoenixes from your hand into the graveyard.
Yep.
And that was the main problem there. If we got those Phoenixes into the yard efficiently, that Temporal Trespass would have done a lot of damage. It might have just stolen that game.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
with a clunky hand where you never have time in a fast matchup like Minota
Yeah.
to spend 4 mana on a 3/2, we're not playing limited here.
Yeah, no kidding. And Winota, I mean, you said it right. Winota just does not leave you with a lot of time. It's not very forgiving. The combination of always having to make sure you play around Winota, because if it's there in some of those situations, we saw the Is It player just holding up Fry, even though there was no Winota in sight. If they had that perfect knowledge that you were not going to get Winota, you'd rather just play all your spells and try to go off like that. But when you have to play defensive and then they play Chariot, which then puts you behind, that's that squeeze that Winota puts you in. And it's hard to avoid that besides just having a plan and just kind of sticking to it and just saying, okay, I lose to this card if you have it. And sometimes it's I lose to Chariot, sometimes it's I lose to Winota. And that last game, and honestly, the last 2 games was if they have Chariot here, they're going to win. And Chris just happened to have Chariot both times.
And so the story to me is the resilience of Winota. It
Yes.
is not a pile of bad creatures, Winota, and some 7-drop that you hit off the triggers so that you're this sort of all-in combo deck.
Yes.
This is an aggro deck that utilizes Winota as a very powerful card and one you have to do a lot to respect.
Mm-hmm.
But, that game 3, no Winota in sight, won a fairly easy game with other powerful threats, mainly Azeka's Chariot. Tovolar's Huntmaster came up big in several games through these elimination rounds. Fable of the Mirror Breaker came up big. And
in a lot of decks, especially in that Martyred Greasefang deck. Woo!
Yeah. So, this is a deck that you can't just say, I'm going to stop your Winota game plan, and after that, you have nothing else. You've got to respect them as a straight-up aggro deck and play them on that axis while also having the threat of Winota in the back of your mind the entire time, and that makes them much more difficult to play against.
Yeah, 100%. And Naya Winota is definitely the deck that is largely recognized as the best deck in Pioneer right now. We have Streets of New Capenna that are being thrown into the mix. Going forward for Pioneer, we'll see what's going to change. But, Pioneer is such a powerful format that, it's going to be functional upgrades to a lot of decks. Maybe 1 or 2 new decks will be brewed up by Aspiring Spike or something, and we'll have him shape the metagame for us like he does with most tournaments.
It's funny that you mentioned, though, that Winota is thought of as the best deck, because when the tournament started, you said you would play Mono Green Devotion.
I still would, yeah.
And there were 0 in the top 8.
Yeah.
And then you asked me that same question, and I believe if we check the
and
tape,
we're all out of time, everyone.
Winota.
This was so much fun. I have hit my threshold here from this nonsense I have to listen to. But no, I agree. I think both decks are good. I just personally like playing Mono Green Devotion a little bit more. And I always think that Winota has such a target on its head that maybe it is not, going to be the best deck this tournament. And almost every time I think that, it wins the tournament and I get proved wrong. So, there is a point when you're just like, this is the best deck. You have to do things that are dramatic to answer it. And one card I didn't see a lot of that I think is very good, not only in this matchup, but against Mono Red. But it's Red Cap Melee. That's a card that when I was playing Boros Prowess with Luris and stuff, that deck had 3-4 Red Cap Melees in the board at the time I was playing it. And I was destroying Winota because you always have that mixture of pressure plus a very key cheap removal spell to deal with it. Of course, things have changed since then. Luris doesn't exist. But I think that's the kind of over-exaggeration people have to do now against Winota, because it's just very proven that the deck is just incredibly strong. People are going to keep playing it, and it just keeps winning events.
But if you look at the other deck in the finals, that Is It Phoenix build, we saw extra counter spells in the main. That's a signal that they want to be better suited against control decks, which we saw a lot of and had a lot of success. And the sideboard, instead of those Red Cap Melees, really cheap removal, you saw them move up to a 2-mana removal spell in Ether Gust. That's a card that signals I got to be prepared for this new Mono Green Devotion deck that got big. So with these other decks rising in the metagame, our Is It Phoenix pilot, got paid off through most of the tournament, tuning towards those decks, but then ran into Winota in the finals, the deck that they tuned away from, and they just didn't have the right tools to handle that matchup. when I'm thinking about trying to be a control deck in the post sideboard games and relying a little bit less on Phoenix, that's not really possible because you don't have the right removal spells to execute that game plan. So instead, they're left to try to turn the corner with Phoenixes and Temporal Trespasses.
Yeah.
Though with one copy of Galvanic Iteration, they're not able to set up those combo turns as well.
Yeah.
So to me, it looked like they were very reliant on Thing in the Ice, and Thing went unanswered in game 1 because the Winota deck has very little interaction, and it was an easy game. In games 2 and 3, their Things got answered by Rending Volleys, by Skyclave Apparitions, and that really left them with no way to get back in the game, turn the corner, and take the aggressive posture so that they can start actually winning instead of just, treading water trying to answer these threats that they weren't equipped to answer.
Yep. And I really got to give the MVP sideboard card, at least for the finals, to Rending Volley.
Oh, yeah.
And 4 of them, I'm not sure if that's stock or not, but it might be after this because that looked amazing. Brutal Cathar is a card I'm not really afraid of if I'm the Izzet player because you get to set up these turns where you just go end step, okay, kill Brutal Cathar, play 2 spells, play 3 spells that next turn, flip it, and you're like, that Brutal Cathar looked bad because it's a 2/2 and you're a deck with a bunch of shocks. Skyclave, good. It does deal with Thing permanently.
Getting a 2/2 token back is not great.
Exactly. And I mean, that is a scenario like, is it Phoenix player supposed to juke and take these things out post board and leave those cards dead? But then how do you win the game?
Yeah. Do you try to win with those young Pyromancers?
That doesn't feel good.
That's tough to do against Azeka's Chariot and Tovalar's Huntmaster.
Yeah. Regardless, we can talk about these matches all day, but it doesn't matter because Chris takes it down. Huge congratulations to you, and a big congrats to everyone else. Blue-white control was kind of the story from the Swiss, where both 7-0 players were 2 blue-white Yorion decks. They made it close. Thiago Saporito, being the tournament top 8 favorite, was eliminated in the top 4, and the 2 players that are going to be playing in that December tournament. We got Chris, we got Gracias por tanto, and huge congratulations to them. They'll be playing in that December tournament, like I said. And now, if you want to be playing in this tournament next month, we'll have the qualifier season starting up soon. We'll be announcing that from the Manatraders side, and then you can look at me and FF Freak MTG's Twitter account. We'll be sharing that as well when the season starts. And then it is going to be Popper. So get your commons ready because that is a nice, exciting format that I'm going to have a refresher course on because I have not played a lot of it.
Well, it's grindier than you think.
I bet it is. And honestly, some commons are more powerful than you think as well. So it's still a pretty cool tournament where you got to do some practice and, a lot of great players still.
Song of the
play.
Damned Storm.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what that card does. All right, everyone. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Now, remember, one last plug. If you do want to be playing in these tournaments, you can use !Bash Bros, and that will save you 20% off to get in on this loan program. It's great for playing these tournaments. And if you don't even want to play this tournament, let's say you're not a Popper fan, I bet you're a Magic fan because you're here. So you might as well use that code to save yourself 20% off for your first 2 months and play some Pioneer, play some Modern, play some Standard, whatever you want. Magic Online and Manatraders will be helping you out to do that. So everyone, thank you so much for watching this broadcast. We really appreciate it. Ross, I want to thank you, buddy. Thanks for being here. Adrian, our producer, huge thanks to you, making everything look all pretty and making us look and sound good. We'd be nothing without him.
Yeah, you need help.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely needed the help. So next month, be on the lookout. We will be having coverage. We don't know our lineup just yet, but believe it or not, it'll be the Roanoke boys that will be giving you some coverage in some combinations. So thank you so much for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.